Regional Council, at least for a few minutes yet. I'd like to welcome everybody here today, and we will get started. And Mayor Palmer from Harriman, you know, this meeting should be in Harriman today, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with Andrea to do introductions around the table, and then Andrea, what I'm going to ask you to do is we'll just introduce around the table, and then I'll ask you to introduce the members of the Regional Council who are online. Excuse me. I'm sorry. All right. Can we do something with the mic? All right. Outdoor voice. All right. So Andrea, would you go around the table, or let's go around the table and start with introductions. So.
Hey, folks, let me just say we're honestly not used to having this many guests with us. We welcome all of you here today. I'm really sorry if it's hard to hear. We just don't have the acoustic system to really project out. So I apologize. We're recording the meeting on Zoom, and if anybody wants to go back and listen to it, you can. Okay, but we appreciate your patience very much. Okay.
All right, well, maybe we'll switch mics, okay? Is that better? All right, let's go around the table. Rosie, we're gonna start.
Rosie Hernandez with the Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Jordan Chandler with WFRC.
Dirk Burton, Mayor of West Jordan.
Lauren Palmer, Mayor in Harriman.
Joe Smoka, Mayor, Immigration Canyon.
Jeff Acerson, Utah Transit Authority.
Carlton Christensen with the Utah Transit Authority.
Dan Dugan, Salt Lake City Council.
Jim Harvey, Weber County Commissioner.
Joy Petro, Layton City Mayor.
Brandon Stanger, Clinton City Mayor.
Mark Shepard, Clearfield City Mayor.
Andrea Pearson, WFRC.
I'm Andrew Gruber, Executive Director of the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and welcome to WFRC, everybody.
I'm Jeff Silvestrini, the Mayor of Mill Creek.
Bob Stevenson, Davis County.
Jenny Wilson, Mayor, Salt Lake County.
Aaron Mendenhall, Mayor, Salt Lake City.
Lee Perry, Box Elder County Commissioner.
Beth Holbrook, Utah Transit Authority.
Carlos Braceras, UDOT.
Monica Zoltansky, Sandy City Mayor.
Rob Daly, City of Holiday Mayor.
Laura Hanson, I'm with the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget.
Mike Caldwell, Ogden City Mayor.
And those members of the council that are online with us today, we have Mayor Dandoy, Commissioner Mike Newton, Mayor Ramsey, Ryan Beck, let's see, Troy Walker. Sorry, 5 sheets here.
Commissioner Gage Farrar.
Thank you, Mayor Debbie Wynn. Ivan Marrero. Blaine Fackrell with Morgan. Mayor Lang. And I believe that's all members of the council. For the rest of the people on the line, your name will be recorded in the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. We have several newly appointed members of the Regional Council, and we're going to be covering those appointments in a few minutes, and we'll welcome those people then. So I want to, because I know we have members of the public here that are interested in item 5 on our agenda, which is the consideration of releasing the draft regional transportation plan for public comment. I'm going to introduce that matter. And then in a minute, I'm going to ask for a motion to reorder our agenda so that we can accommodate the public and allow public comment to go early in our agenda. So first of all, the regional transportation plan is the regional long-term strategy for our region's future transportation system between now and 2050. And it's actually a phased document, and some of the things, including the gondola, are not scheduled for years. Wasatch Front Regional Council works in partnership with local governments, transportation agencies, including UTA and UDOT, community organizations, local stakeholders, and residents to develop this plan. The purpose of today's action by our council is only to release the draft regional transportation plan for public comment. So I want to let people know that when we get to public comment, if you have made public comment before today, or if you make public comment today, we will still consider that public comment, even though the plan has not been released for public comment yet. What we're voting on today is only to release the plan for public comment. The regional transportation plan reflects the current status of environmental processes when they're occurring, including environmental impact statements. So that is the relationship between the RTP and the environmental impact statement that UDOT is processing. What does the draft RTP show for Little Cottonwood Canyon? For Little Cottonwood Canyon, the draft regional transportation plan reflects all of the elements of the transportation-related projects in the EIS that was released by UDOT in draft form at least several months ago. So the plan shows the phased approach. It shows enhanced bus service, congestion-based pricing, roadway modifications on Wasatch Boulevard in phase 1. It shows avalanche snow sheds in phase 2, which is later down the road. And it also reflects a gondola in phase 3. So if the environmental impact statement for Little Cottonwood Canyon changes, the regional transportation plan will also change. And the other question that people have asked, and there's been some comments on social media suggesting that the regional transportation plan is going to approve funding for the gondola. That is absolutely not correct. The draft RTP covers projects from 2023 to 2050. It does not approve or provide funding for the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon, nor does it allocate funds for that project. It simply reflects the environmental impact statement progress at this time. It reflects the EIS cost estimates for all of the projects in the RTP, including the phased approaches and the gondola, and it reflects that the gondola is estimated to cost $391 million. So what's next? The draft 2023-2050 regional transportation plan, if it's released for public comment by a vote of our council today, will be available for public comment between now and February 26, 2023. And you can submit those comments on this organization's webpage, which is wfrc.org/public comment. So what I want to indicate is when we get to public comment, everybody who's here and everybody who's not here will have an opportunity to make public comment on the RTP. And we'll have a month to do that. So with that preliminary statement, what I would like to do is to ask someone for a motion to reorder our agenda. And what I'm going to propose, because we have new members of our council and we need to have them officially appointed, I'm going to ask that we consider on our agenda first item 2A, which is part of the chair's report, next followed by public comment, which is item 3. And then I want to ask that we flip items 4 and 5. Item 5 is actually the consideration of releasing the draft RTP for public comment. And then we will put the amendments to the transportation improvement plan and the report of the transportation coordinating committee after that. So we'll switch item 5 ahead of item 4. So is that clear? I'll look for a motion to reorder the agenda.
So move as
Mr.
presented.
I
Second
have
that motion.
Commissioner Harvey and Mayor Shepherd making a motion and seconding that to reorder the agenda. All voting members of the regional council, you to indicate whether you
Aye.
Aye.
any opposed. Okay, that motion carries. So next we will entertain public comment. And so what I want to say on this, this organization and on our agenda, we have 5 minutes for public comment. We also have a full agenda, and we have a number of elected and other officials here. So at chair's prerogative, I'm going to expand the time for public comment today from that 5-minute period to 30 minutes. but we have to get on with our other agenda. And I know that that's not going to allow potentially everyone who wants to speak to do so, but understand that this is just the day we're opening public comment. So everyone will get a chance to do that. And this matter will not be considered actually by the regional council again until we meet in May. So you have a month to make that public comment, and then we'll have public comment again before we actually consider approval of the RTP in May. What I'm going to ask is that if people would please limit your comments to 1 minute so that as many people as possible have an opportunity to speak. And I'm also going to indicate that we've had a couple of people have made specific requests for public comment, and I'm going to recognize those individuals when we get to that point. So right before we start that, I'm going to go through item 2A. So the Regional Council is composed of 21 voting members, and those members are appointed by the Council of Governments in the 6-county area of counties that belong to WFRC. And those are Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, Morgan, Tooele, and Southern Box Elder County. We also have representation, a non-voting representation from UDOT and UTA, and all of these appointments are 1-year terms. The bylaws of WFRC require that the chair and the vice chair be elected at the first regular meeting in odd-numbered years, so that's today. And the chair and vice chair of this organization are elected to serve 2-year terms. Pursuant to our bylaws, and at our October 27 meeting, a 6-member nominating committee was formed to represent the region's 6 counties. And that nominating committee was comprised of former Box Elder County Commissioner Jeff Scott, Ogden City Mayor Mike Caldwell, Tooele County Council Member Scott Wardle, Layton City Mayor Joy Petro, Morgan County Council Member Mike Newton, and myself as chair of WFRC. And I'm happy to share with you that the nominating committee unanimously nominated South Jordan Mayor Dawn Ramsey to serve as chair, and Davis County Commissioner Bob Stevenson to serve as vice chair. And upon approval of the council, these appointments will be effective immediately. So I will look for a motion from the regional council to accept the nominations for chair and vice chair.
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Shepherd.
Second, Troy Walker.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. We have a motion and second to appoint the chair and vice chair of WFRC. Discussion to that motion. Then all those members of the regional council would please unmute and signify support of the motion by saying aye.
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 Okay, so congratulations to Mayor Ramsey and to Bob Stevenson, who's sitting here next to me. So I would say thank goodness that Mayor Ramsey is now the chair of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. Mayor Ramsey is with us online, however, and by a prior arrangement and without objection, she's asked that I continue to chair this meeting today because she is participating remotely and it's easier to do it from here at an anchor location. But I would like to invite Mayor Ramsey to make any comments upon your election as chair. Mayor?
Well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for being there in person, everyone joining us online, and we appreciate everyone joining us today. It's an honor to be part of this organization with such strong leaders working hard for a collaborative long-term plan, and I appreciate it. Apologies for not being able to be there in person today. I am in the process of moving my daughter, and so I'm joining you remotely. But really, I just want to say thank you to Mayor Silvestrini. Anyone who's been around at all knows that Jeff Silvestrini has given countless hours of service to the Wasatch Front Regional Council. He's been an outstanding chair, and I just am so grateful for his leadership and the service that he's provided. And we actually have a plaque for you, Mayor Silvestrini, a plaque to present, which I believe, hopefully Andrew has it right there with him. Again, sorry I can't be there to present that in person, but this reads to Mayor Jeff Silvestrini, Chair, Wasatch Front Regional Council for 2021 and 2022. Thank you for your friendship and your leadership, Jeff. We appreciate it. It's dated today, and I would ask, this is outside of protocol. Generally, in a meeting like this, we don't erupt in applause or anything like that. We practice appropriate decorum. But Jeff has been such a faithful leader for this organization. I would ask that you would join me in thanking him for his service as chair.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just say it has been an honor to have the confidence of this group to serve as chair the last 2 years. I actually expect that I'll be associated with this organization until they take the ball and chain off my leg. So, but it is a pleasure, and thank you very much for your kind words, Mayor. I would, so now the other thing that we have to do before we get to public comment, pursuant to our organizing documents, the WFRC chair makes appointments to the committee positions of our organization, including the Regional Growth Committee, the Transportation Coordinating Committee, or TRANSCOM, the Active Transportation Committee, and our Budget Committee, and also the Wasatch Front Economic Development District and Joint Policy Committee. And some of the appointments to these committees are made by the county councils of governments in the region and several other entities depending on that committee. So we're going to post in the chat, and in our materials there were the appointments that have been made for the proposed chairs and vice chairs, members and alternates of Wasatch Front Regional Council on these committees. It shows the membership by county, and the nominating committee offered recommendations for the appointment of chairs and vice chairs of these committees, which as chair I endorsed. The majority of our members are continuing in their service. However, there are several new members or alternates or adjustments to the chairs and vice chairs of these committees. And those chairs are highlighted in yellow on the slide. And I'm just going to ask, I don't know who's hitting the light switches, but if you can kind of avoid doing that, it'd be great. Anyway, those changes are highlighted in yellow on the materials that the council members have. And pursuant to our bylaws and on behalf of Mayor Ramsey, I'm presenting these COG appointments to appoint these members, alternates, and chairs and vice chairs of these committees as reflected. And these appointments would be effective immediately. So unless there's further discussion by council members, I would entertain a motion to endorse the appointments to the council on those committees as indicated on our materials.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stevenson. I didn't catch your second. Okay, Mayor Burton. All right. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And I want to congratulate and thank everyone who served on a WFRC committee and look forward to working with those of you who've been appointed in the future. I would like to just ask some of our new members if they want to just introduce themselves and say a word or two. So first, Box Elder Commissioner Lee Perry.
I like sitting in the dark, obviously. So anyway, Lee Perry, I'm happy to be here. For those who don't know, I spent 10 years in our legislature, and now I'm come to the where real government hits the road here with the county level. So hopefully we can continue to move forward and do some great things here. Thanks.
And next, Weber County Commissioner Gage Brewer. Commissioner Brewer, you're online, I believe.
Yes, sorry I can't be with you. We've got some legislative stuff going on right now, but appreciate the opportunity to serve again. We've had a great 4 years with Economic Development Council, and I look forward to what we can accomplish this next 4 years. So thanks very much.
You've got legislative stuff going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's, not everything they do down there is correct. So we got to keep an eye on them.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. All right, Clinton Mayor Brandon Stanger.
Brandon Stanger, Clinton City, excited to serve amongst you. Recently, new mayor, but at the same time, just want to jump in and help where I can. It's great to be in Salt Lake and see the Delta Center again. I work for Delta and love to travel, and by doing that, it's nice to take cities and countries throughout the world and bring what they have back here to Utah and try to make it be as effective as possible.
Okay, thank you. Mayor. And Roy, Mayor Bob Dandoy. I think Mayor Dandoy is online.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. This is going to be a great experience, and couldn't be more pleased in terms of providing support, particularly from Northern Utah. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Great things going on in Roy, Utah. So, all right, now we will turn to public comment. Once again, we will allocate 30 minutes for this and ask that people limit their remarks to 1 minute each. If you would come to the microphone, and I'm going to recognize Patrick Shea first, and then Brad Lutbridge or Carolyn. I'm not sure how to say your name, Carolyn Gleich. And then if you want to, and Carl Fisher as well. I see Carl back there. And then if you want to make public comment, if you would try to make your way to make a line to the mic so that we can do this in rapid order, I'd appreciate it. So, Mr. Shea, it's good to see you again. Push the button and yell.
I'm a digital dinosaur. I'm from Utah, but not of Utah. I'm a fiscal conservative. When I was chair of the airport board, building the third runway, we brought it home under budget and ahead of time, unlike the airport this time, unlike the prison. So I want first to talk to you about fiscal responsibility. The idea that this is only going to cost $391 million is a joke. We've hired an engineering consultant. They estimate there'll be at least $1.2 billion. Now think of what you could do in your city or your county with that kind of money. Think of what the teachers would be able to do with that kind of money. I also wrote my third-year paper on the Clean Air Act and have been successful in several NEPA lawsuits. So if we have, as I say, the railroad running and the gondola is picked by UDOT, it's going to be tied up as the highway, legacy highway. So I would hope that you would exercise fiscal responsibility, amend the regional transportation plan, and include other options like electric buses. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so I appreciate the applause. I know that probably most of the people here are in favor of what Mr. Shea just said, but I just want to indicate that if the applause is taking up time that people could be using for making comments, because we are going to cut this off in 30 minutes. And we kind of get where everybody is on this emotionally. So next.
I'm Caroline Gleich. I'm a professional ski mountaineer, activist, and board member of the Wasatch Backcountry Alliance. I'm also an Alta season pass holder. I'm the first woman and fourth person to ski all the lines in a steep skiing guidebook called the Shooting Gallery. I'm opposed to the gondola because it doesn't support access to dispersed trailheads like the ones I use to get to many of the lines that I skied in the book. Government and groups like you should be creating solutions to make people less dependent on cars, deploying electric buses, and thinking systemically so people can get around without emitting carbon. I've worked diligently in my career for climate action and increased access to the outdoors. I dream of a future where everyone has access to our canyons, from Draper to Daybreak, West Jordan to Jordanelle. Please build a transit solution that includes access to dispersed trailheads, considers the backcountry, and works to make the outdoors more accessible to all.
Thank you.
I was going to take her 30 seconds because I actually had 60 minutes of content. I was prepared. So, hi, my name is Brad Rutledge. I'm with Wasatch Backcountry Alliance. And am I getting feedback on that? I want to thank everyone for allowing everyone to publicly comment on this really heated issue today. And I want to ask this board today to vote no on introducing the EIS LCC or the LCC EIS into your regional transit plan. UDOT has not finalized that plan yet. It's irresponsible to put it in with language saying, if they change it, we'll change it later. What's the rush? Wait and do this the right way. But I also want to, if anyone out there is doubting that this is the right solution, I know there's some people out there that know it's the wrong solution, like all of these people do. But if you're doubting it,
10
you don't
seconds
have
remaining.
enough information. I thought I had 30 seconds left from hers. Then I ask you to please vote no and learn more about why this won't work. I can tell you wholeheartedly This will not work. And I'm going to take just the 30 seconds that Caroline ended early because we coordinated on that and just finish something. I want you to think through a family of 4 on a powder day, going to the gondola station, envisioning it the way that UDOT is, promoted it, the gondola folks have promoted it. If they show up and that gondola station is only 1/5 full, that has capacity of 5,000 people. It's only 1/5 full. When they get out of their car and get to the gondola station, they now have a 1-hour wait before they step onto a cabin. And I'll tell you, what if it's half full? What if that station's at capacity? This system will not work mathematically the way they promoted it. It just absolutely will not. And I'll tell you, I'm going to end with the nightmare. The nightmare scenario is you're at Alta Snowbird and you want to come down and be home by 5 o'clock. So you go over to the gondola station to write it down at 3 or 3:30. Our estimates are showing you're not getting home until 7 or 8 p.m. And that's just riding the gondola down and being at the gondola station. This thing will fail. Please today, do not push this through. That is not a finalized UDOT document. There's no reason to do it today. If you doubt it, hold off and learn more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad.
Good evening. Good evening, Wasatch Front Regional Council. Why is skiing so much easier than public speaking? First, I want to take a moment to thank you for taking the time to sit with us and hear us vocalize our opposition to the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon. I'm a 27-year-old SLC resident who identifies as Heath A. As an endurance athlete and photographer, I spend nearly every waking minute in the canyons, primarily Little Cottonwood. From backcountry skiing, climbing, and running the world for fun, it's safe to say I enjoy my time in the canyon as much as anyone. As much as it is a setting for my work, it provides me a place to gain perspective and clarity. The numerous mental health benefits are arguably the most important aspect my peers and I attain from the canyon. The proposed gondola system would undoubtedly harm the canyon in multiple ways. Installing the gondola would not only directly disrupt and destroy world-class climbing areas, but also affect the fragile watershed in the canyon. With the installation of the gondola comes the use of plastics, oils, paints, lubricants, and rubbers, and other completely inorganic materials that will drip, seep, fall.
Time's up. Thank you
from the
so much for your
machinery.
comment. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Pat Holmes, and I am a community member. I live in Cottonwood Heights and have lived there for 36 years. However, prior to that, well, actually, while I lived in Cottonwood Heights, I'm retired now, but I retired from Visit Salt Lake after 32 years as an executive there. One of our missions was to bring economic development to Salt Lake County, and I worked with a number of you all in doing that. And what I'm saying to you is I do not believe this gondola will bring any economic development. I hear that, oh, it's going to increase tourism and everything. Trust me, it will not increase tourism. We worked with bringing conventions and meetings and ski groups and skiers into Salt Lake, so I have a little bit of expertise in this area. The other thing, I don't know what this whole plan says, but I don't hear anything about some of the other mitigating solutions that we've talked about that have been talked about, such as increased and often bus service, which I think is a no-brainer. Hello, duh. And then the final thing I want to say is that
your time's up. Thank you for your comment.
I
Next,
just want to say I
please.
live on the east side of Wasatch, so I know what I know all the skiing, and I'm understanding that. So it's not just I deal with that every time the.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to have the next comment.
Hello, all esteemed members here. My name is Ellen Burrell, and I am on the Cottonwood Heights City Council. And so I want to make sure everyone in this room is aware that we passed a resolution in Cottonwood Heights, and I will paraphrase from that resolution that passed in December. Rather than utilizing regional intermodal hubs at locations geographically removed from the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon and make practical, less invasive transportation strategies such as parking management apps, multi-passenger vehicle incentives, traction requirements, and regionally placed mobility hubs, the City of Cottonwood Heights requests UDOT eliminate the gondola alternative from consideration in the final ROD. And I also want to make sure that we understand that regarding UDOT's Wasatch Boulevard expansion, which they have put in their phase 1, which would be built before 2030, by their own
Your time
data,
is up. Thank you
UDOT
so much for your
UDOT
comment.
indicates
Next,
that by their
please.
own data, their 5-lane phased in 2-lane imbalance approach is unnecessary until 2050, if at all. No
Thank you,
southbound
Ellen.
need, and there is nothing based on the ski industry. It's all based on commuter traffic. And so it is, though, in the EIS that in order to build the parking garage and have it be successful, we must expand 2.6 miles of SR 210 Wasatch Boulevard through Cottonwood Heights. That is solely for the parking garage and not until possibly 2050 for southbound
Okay,
commuters.
thank you, Ellen.
Thank
Next. So I'm going to give some advice. If you don't need to be right up with your mouth right next to the mic, you just need to be back about 6 inches and speak loudly.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dave Fields. I'm President and General Manager of Snowbird. And I appreciate this opportunity to voice my support for gondola as a long-term solution for transportation in Little Cottonwood Canyon. This winter has demonstrated many days over the need for reliable transportation despite weather and avalanche conditions for a growing number of winter recreationalists visiting Little Cottonwood Canyon. As we look at current traffic gridlock, delays, and hazardous conditions, I can only imagine what this will become without thoughtful planning for the decades to come. This year alone, Little Cottonwood Canyon has closed 10 times and had more than 100 hours of closure. It's only the end of January. We've transported a guest who was having a heart attack over 150 feet of avalanche debris on the highway using a toboggan and placing an avalanche beacon on this patient. I understand the change is difficult for people who love Little Cottonwood to embrace. I am confident that shortly after a
Time is
gondola
up.
is built,
Thank you so much for your comment.
people will say, why didn't we do this sooner?
Thank you very much. Okay, all right. This is a civil discussion, and we get to hear from both sides. And I know that if you were in the minority, you'd appreciate being heard as well. And this is just eating into the time that we have for this comment, because we're going to be shutting this down at about 3:05 sharp. All right, next.
Hi, my name is Emily Pitch, and I'm a president of the organization called Students for the Wasatch. I encourage you, council, to exclude the gondola from the draft regional transportation plan, not just the final one. The gondola is inconsistent with your vision and goals and is the worst choice for our communities. According to the Wasatch Choice Vision, with which y'all developed, you strive to provide transportation choices and preserve sufficient and easily accessible open lands that provide us with recreational opportunities, and the gondola will not accomplish either of these. Additionally, you say that the RTP is said to be developed in partnership with local governments, transportation agencies, community organizations, local stakeholders, and residents. And you can see how many residents and community organizations are here today opposing the gondola. You also say our future quality of life depends on this choice we make today, and this is absolutely true for the choice that you make today. Thank you.
Great timing.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nathan Rafferty. I'm the president of Ski Utah. I'm a product of public transportation here as a skier. Grew up on the east side of Salt Lake City and took the ski bus up into Big Cottonwood Canyon and appreciate UTA and all that it has to offer. But I think the time it has come to evolve public transportation, not only look at ways to improve it, but evolve into new modes. Ski Utah supports the gondola solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Roger Burke. I'm the mayor of Alta. Alta is a gem in the crown of the Wasatch. This gondola would injure that gem. It is a beautiful spot. We don't want this visual blight up there. Furthermore, it's socially unjust. The vast majority of the people in this state will never get close to that gondola, but they will get to pay for it. So the 3 million people who get to pay for it will have no benefit from it whatsoever. And it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the traffic problem. And furthermore, the climate is changing, folks. A rigid, inflexible, built-in infrastructure is not the way to respond to that. We need flexible solutions like the busing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hi, my name's Carl Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of Save Our Canyons. I really wanted to focus today a little bit on the WFRC process and urge you to not incorporate the gondola into your draft regional plan. So currently there is no decision by the Utah Department of Transportation on this gondola. There's another step in this process where the U.S. Forest Service also has to issue a decision about this process because it's impacting and situated on public lands. In some instances, it's even situated on top of inventoried roadless lands that are protected and deserve protections. So there is no UDOT decision on the EIS. There is no Forest Service decision on the EIS. Who has made decisions on this? Salt Lake City has issued a resolution. Salt Lake County has issued a resolution. Cottonwood Heights has issued a resolution. And you just heard from the mayor of Alta saying no. Your local governments are saying no to this gondola, and we urge you to do the same. I want to take one extra second, if I might have an extra minute, because this is Groundhog's Day. This exact same thing happened in 2019 with the third lane in the 2019 Wasatch Front Regional Council's draft plan, where UDOT tried to seed the third lane into the draft plan. It was successful. Then it incorporated that
Carl, your
into the
time's up.
EIS. This is
Thank you for your
government
comment. Please allow the
corruption.
next person to step up.
So, Carl, we're going to hear from everybody, so your
Great.
time is up.
Great.
All right, please raise your hand if you are not in support of the gondola.
No,
Okay,
you
I just
can
wanted to-
address the council,
Okay,
but
will
not the
do. Thank
crowd,
you.
okay? If you want to
I-
address the crowd, then go
Okay.
out there and address the
Okay,
crowd.
I was just curious. I'd like to echo you, Jeff. You mentioned if you're a minority, you'd appreciate being heard too. So part of this that's hard for me to accept is that $391 million might be allocated to the elite, essentially. You know, there are people in our community. I believe this money should serve the community as a whole. So I also want to echo Roger and that it's socially unjust and it doesn't solve the traffic problem. So the traffic problem will still be concentrated at the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon. It doesn't really solve the problem. So I'm just hoping that those funds can be allocated to serve, you know, the betterment of our entire community and to look at alternatives that will really hopefully solve that traffic problem. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Hannah and I work in management at Alta Ski Area. I also live on Little Cottonwood Canyon Road. I'm not as much in here to get into emotional things as just logistics, like the fact that there's been no historical data ever supporting a gondola of this length. The longest gondola to date is 5 miles long and it services flat land in Serbia. It's also only been in operation for less than a year and a half. Well, that would fall on UDOT to do every troubleshooting, every bit of engineering, everything. There are other ways that we can find a way to get people up and down that canyon. Environmental impact is not going to outweigh the positives of the gondola. It's going to be unreliable with wind, which we see evident from Snowbird and Alta Ski Area on a weekly basis. We have to shut down the tram that services the top of the mountain more than once every 2 weeks. That would mean that in high snow conditions and wind, we would have everybody stuck down. in
Anna, your time
Wasatch.
is up. Thank you for your comment.
Also, unsafe work environments. Thank you.
My name is Adam Cook. I live here on the west side of Salt Lake. I just wanted to point out my feeling that while I understand that the decisions made today aren't going to start gondola construction tomorrow, this is a can that we're ultimately kicking down the road by not making some of these tough decisions. And I think it sends the wrong message about our priorities for development here, recognizing that many of the road projects around the valley are within the purview of WFRC. I would, most members of the public are not members of the resort skiing aristocracy. Most people are not going to be using this facility. I think there are more valuable projects within the jurisdiction of WFRC, including, for instance, I really appreciate that Mayor Mendenhall has signed on to the Vision Zero pledge recently, and I think that action at the Wasatch Front level on that would be much more meaningful. Anyway, my time's up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean Ennis. I'm a taxpayer, work at REI Mill Creek, student at the U. The bigger elephant in the room right now is our Great Salt Lake. This thing is at 73% of what it should be. It's lost 60% of its surface area. What that means in a couple of years is we've got more than $1 billion problem on our hands. We won't have snow. We won't have people. People's lives will be drastically different. I suggest that we use that taxpayer money to benefit all the taxpayers of this valley. And I'm sincere about it. Amen.
Thank you for allowing public comment. My name is Julia Geisler. I'm the Executive Director of the Salt Lake Climbers Alliance and here to represent climbers' interests across the Wasatch, but also the iconic nature, the historical nature of Lower Little Cottonwood would be heavily and irreplaceably impacted by a gondola. So we are here to please plead with you not to go forward on that proposal if it presents itself to you all, and to support today the enhanced electric bus, all of the efforts that are being made by Salt Lake County, Salt Lake City, Visit Utah, and the resorts to enhance our electric bus service. Let's try that with earnest and put funding towards that today to solve our traffic problems. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Stevens. I'm a wildlife biologist and a local rock climber and skier. I don't support the gondola because it lacks scalability. It won't be able to accommodate differences in population use and kind of the canyon as weather and interest change in the community. I also don't support this initiative because it's holding common sense solutions as collateral before exploring lower impact solutions. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Liam. I'm for Students for the Wasatch. I oppose the gondola because it frankly is just a complete disregard of what the principles this country was built on, which is representation of the people and democracy. And we can clearly see by the comments that you guys have all received, and I know that you have seen and read, that 89% of Utah residents don't support this. And that's $391 million of taxpayer money. That's going straight to the elites, straight to our ski resort owners who already make millions of dollars a year off of everyone that comes to their resorts. But they need more money out of our pockets because you guys don't want to pay bus drivers or establish an effective system for public transport. It's really archaic.
Hi, I'm Shandy. I live on Little Cottonwood Road. 9400 South runs behind my backyard. In fact, someone crashed through our fence this year. So I have the pleasure of watching the traffic every single day. I can imagine that common sense would tell me, you go to the gondola, there's 2,500 stalls, and there's 7,000 cars trying to go up the canyon on a big day. There's no parking. What do? You get back in line, you exacerbate the problem. You go back down, try to find parking at a bus to then get back in line, to then go get in a line for the gondola, and then take an hour to get up. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious this is not a solution. It makes more traffic and it makes more money for our ski resort owners. You said, Councilman, the minority wants to be heard, but why this much money for the minority? Why don't we benefit our whole state? People in St. George don't give a rat's about this issue. They're not using the gondola. Why are they paying for it? It's not fair, it's not right. We have better solutions that are common sense, that can work for everybody, that are flexible. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindy McElwain. I'm a backcountry skier. I've skied the Wasatch backcountry for over 35 years, and I've never bought a resort pass because I don't believe in supporting the ski industry and the corporations that are loomed up. I mean, Alta used to be a community-based kind of resort, but I'm actually here to talk about the impact on the wildlife corridors in Little Cottonwood Canyon. We're talking about towers that are 200 feet tall. We're talking about bases that are 30 by 30 at least. And we're talking about a huge amount of disruption in the watershed, in the wildland, that right now is only marginally accessible. So let's not do this thing. It's a bad idea.
Hello, my name is Lucy Pfeiffer. I'm 17 years old, and I have lived by the mouth of Little Conwood Canyon since I was a baby. I go up in the canyon every single summer with my friends. I ski up there in the winter. That canyon means so much to me, and it brings in so much beauty for everyone around the world. When people come to Utah, they come for the natural beauty. They don't come for the infrastructure. They don't come for all that. They come for the hiking, the skiing, all of those amazing things. And we already have so many issues in Utah. Our Great Salt Lake is drying up. We need to spend our money on that instead. Our wildlife is beautiful. Utah is natural. It is beautiful. We need to keep it wild. We don't need to spend money, billions of dollars, on this infrastructure that is not needed. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Rombo, and I spend my time in the Wasatch backcountry skiing, hunting, hiking, biking, and trail running. I'm here to urge you to vote no on any plan that includes the gondola. We should not be spending public tax dollars to service the tiny fraction of our canyons that are private and to benefit a small portion of mountain recreators. Any public transportation solution in the canyons built with public funds must provide access to all trailheads for all mountain users at all times of year. Any other solution is short-sighted and inadequate for now and for the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Fisher, and I live in Sandy. I've lived in Sandy for 30 years and in Utah for 34 years. I own a really fat pair of powder skis and a Alta season pass, and I can get up to Alta from my house in 17 minutes most days. It's not a problem. On a powder day, which I go any powder day I can, it takes me at the most an hour. It's not the big problem we're talking about. And for me, it's an extension of my backyard. And I think for most people here along the Wasatch Front, the canyons are our backyard. They belong to us. And we want to feel like after dinner, we can go, oh, it's such a nice day. Let's go up into the canyon and not have restrictions to access and ugly gondolas. Please vote no on this. And I would make a motion, actually, I would ask one of you to make a motion to extend the public time for maybe another hour or so. Is there anyone willing? It only takes two of you.
Next.
Hi, my name is Shelby Gonzalez. I'm responsible for developing pharmaceutical products on a global scale. I'm also responsible for preserving the patient's safety on a national scale. I came up to address the point that this gondola would improve health and safety outcomes for patients on the mountain. Unfortunately, unless there is a spare gondola set aside for patients at the moment they're having a cardiac arrest, this is not going to improve patient outcomes. No matter what, within 30 minutes, you're going to be experiencing tissue damage and a cardiac level. And, you know, personally, my father has already had a heart attack, and fortunately, we were able to get him to a hospital within 30 minutes, and he was able to survive and fully recover. But a gondola isn't going to dramatically improve that. So I just wanted to address that point from a medical standpoint. Thank you.
My name is William Bowen. I live in Holiday. I have a substantial background in transportation. I have, I believe, the only U.S. patent granted for a large-scale transportation system. So I've studied this extensively. The most effective people movers in the United States are the dedicated busways going into the Manhattan bus terminal. Those dedicated busways move far more commuters in and out of New York than the suburban commuter trains or limousines and cars. So it is a proven, well-established fact that dedicated busways are the most efficient people movers. They are also highly cost effective. Now, we should be looking at something equivalent to the Manhattan dedicated busways. It's an easy thing to do.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Alex Kavik. I'm a professional backcountry snowboarder. If you guys have never seen the tram line on a powder day, it's insane. If you imagine Snowbird, Alta, and backcountry users at one location in the city, it's going to be insane. Also, the traffic only builds when they have to shut down the canyon road to shoot howitzer missiles up into the avalanche pass to mitigate avalanche hazards. You think they're going to load thousands of people into the air while they're shooting howitzers up into the canyon? You're insane. I also want to bring it to a point of the last gentleman, a busing system. Zion deals with 5 million visitors a year. There's almost no traffic that goes up into the canyon. It's all via a busing system there. Yeah, so maybe a solution is Alta, Snowbird. You can limit daily ticket sales and stop parking people on the canyon roads. We all use this and we all love the space. Please vote no.
Chair, I think we have time for 3 more comments.
That's what I show.
Hey, thanks for having us today. My name is Dan Leifson. I'm a local. I was born and raised in these canyons. I've come up here my entire life. Heard a lot of great ideas today. I think we're looking at common sense solutions and we need to pursue those before we spend another dollar of taxpayer money on this asinine idea of gondola. A couple of the problems that I see with it immediately are who's going to service it? Who's going to provide rescue for those people that get stuck in there when it breaks down, which it inevitably will? Let's look at the buses. We've done that before. More importantly, what I wanted to say today is that nobody's entitled to be in these canyons. These canyons have a human capacity, and when they're full, they're full. So incentivizing people to come up there, limiting the number of cars or the number of passengers in cars, that's the best option. Thanks for having me again today. Look around. These are the people that elected you. Please do what we want with this. No gondola.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Taylor, and I am the president and founder of the Women's Outdoor Leadership Initiative up at the University of Utah, a student group that now has over 700 people in it. This position gives me a lot of interactions with students who come from all over the world for Utah's outdoor resources. The outdoors in the state brings people that pay rent, they work different jobs, they buy groceries, they pay out-of-state tuition, a big moneymaker. Most importantly, they're all active contributors to the state's economy. Most importantly, though, they all recreate in the canyons. The outdoors for a college student is already inaccessible as it is for those who don't have a car, who literally moved to the state for this purpose. Having them now pay for a gondola in 2 different stages, both as a newer taxpayer and as a rider, is not feasible for a college student. The creation of this gondola would not only deter the population from recreating in the canyons, but deter people from coming to the U in general and doing the opposite of what the gondola is supposed to do, bringing people to the state to contribute to our economy. I hope you hear this point. Thank you.
Last comment.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Bill Lockhart. What the Cottonwood Canyons need is a comprehensive and integrated transportation system to conduct traffic to people into the canyons. A concentrated node completely dependent on private vehicle traffic right next to the base of canyon is not that. And also, it is doomed to failure. And I have extensively reviewed the administrative record and public record documents and learned that on June 8th, 2020, UDOT itself decided that it would fail. I urge you to look at the June 8th, 2020 alternatives analysis report. They determined it would fail. Then politically connected people, Wayne Niederhauser, had a private meeting, and then
Thank you for your comment. Your time is up.
It was revived. Look at those.
May I make one more comment?
Okay, no, we no, that,
Nobody's talked about what I want to say.
All right, all right.
Nobody's
Only
talked,
because Andrew said you should.
nobody's talked about the money that we are gonna pay to get on the gondola. What about a mom with 4 kids? What is she supposed to pay? $25 a child? Plus the adult? Maybe $50 the adult? Who's gonna pay for this? It's gonna be a failure. It's gonna be an economic failure. Nobody's gonna have the money to pay for their rides.
All right, thank you. So thank you to everyone who made public comment. I just want to indicate again, assuming that the RTP is released for public comment, there'll be an opportunity for people to make comments on, by submitting them online. And we will additionally, have, if this matter comes before our council meeting in May, there'll be a time there for public comment. The place to make those comments once again is on the Regional Council's website, WFRC.org/public comment. And, we encourage everybody to do that. I'll just indicate that when the comments that we've received in the chat will be part of that record, as will the few public comments that we have already received in writing. So, we will take all those into consideration. So, all
Mr.
right,
Chair.
thank you very much. All right, so taking this back to the
Mr. Chair.
council, then,
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
that I don't think the motion is in order at this point.
I have a motion to table and bifurcate the Little Cottonwood Canyon Gondola project from the anticipated funding from the Regional Transportation Plan.
And I'd be curious to your sense of the order, but I
So
do think that
the
this
the
is.
order is to go to the issue that you're addressing, Mayor. And so I don't believe your motion is in order at this time. It will be when we get to item 5, which is next on the agenda.
So when is it coming back?
So I'm basically going to turn this over to Mayor Ramsey for a report on the RTP, and then we will have a discussion about what action that the council wants to take with respect to
Okay,
item.
so you want to present the information item on number 5 first before entertaining motions?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll hold mine till then.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then I'm going to turn the time over to Mayor Ramsey, who is the chair of the Regional Transportation, she's the chair of the Regional Growth Committee. Actually, I think we reordered. Yeah, Andrew's correct. In terms of the motion to reorder, we need to hit item 2B before we. Item 1. All right, yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. All right, so we will get to 5 after item 1 and 2. So first of all, we need to go back and take a look at the minutes of the Regional Council meeting, our last meeting in October. And yeah, okay. Yeah. So we have two items on our consent agenda. One is the approval of the minutes of our meeting of October 27, 2022. And then additionally, approval of the financial statements, check registers for September, October, and November 2022, and the budget expenditure report, which were part of your packet. So I'll look for a motion or any discussion with respect to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I've reviewed those and I'd make a motion to approve.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those are approved. Thank you very much, Mayor. All right, now next let's turn to item 2B, which is the conclusion of the chair's report. So I just want to indicate that a number of us, Andrew Gruber, Miranda Cox, who's our Legislative Affairs Director, Mayor Ramsey, Commissioner Stevenson, and I just returned from Washington, D.C. and our partners at MAG to Mayor Kafusi, Mayor Anderson, and staff just returned from Washington, D.C. To attend the National Association of Regions Convention. And what we learned there really was interesting with respect to how our organization is approaching statewide applications, basically for the discretionary grant parts of the Infrastructure Act, the IIJA. A number of regions are having trouble coordinating with their municipalities with respect to the applications for grants that are being proposed. And happy to say that with respect to our region and also with the Mountain Land Association of Governments, we've been coordinating on those projects and are focusing on two principal grant applications, which Miranda is going to talk about in a minute. So we are unique among regions in our ability to collaborate and coordinate with respect to those significant grant applications. Principally, they involve the strategic double tracking of front runner to make it more frequent, more reliable, and actually faster. And then also grant applications for $25 million for first and last mile projects that will enable our residents across our regions to get to transit easier. And by coordinating on those, we actually have a better chance of receiving favorable consideration from the federal government, which is looking for collaboration. And also, we're not inundating either of those agencies that are evaluating these grants or our congressional delegations with a bunch of competing applications, which would be difficult to evaluate or prioritize. So that's a credit to what we were doing in this region and in MAG. We also had an opportunity to visit with all 6 members of our congressional delegation, with Senators Romney and Lee and our 4 congressmen, and spent about a half hour with each of them explaining these 2 priorities of our region to double track front runner and to help support us with respect to the applications for funding to promote first and last mile connectivity. So that's bike lanes, that's sidewalks, that's all kinds of things that will get people to our transit assets quicker and easier from their homes and to work. And I'm actually happy to say that all 6 members of our delegation have heard us enough, but they were all they unanimously are willing to support our work, and it's actually gratifying to get their support and to know that they're familiar with and supportive of the work that we're doing. I'm going to turn the time over to Miranda to do a brief update on the federal side, and then also on the state side. We do have an action item where we need to consider the regional council's positions to give our staff direction with respect to lobbying the Utah legislature. As somebody mentioned, it's in session. So Miranda, do you want to talk about those things?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Just to kind of close the loop on the federal grant programs that Mayor Silvestrini mentioned is, as he said, UDOT and UTA are pursuing funding through the Capital Investment Grant Program through the U.S. Department of Transportation and FTA. What's great about Front Runner is that is already moving through that process. The state has already put over $300 million towards double tracking of Front Runner, and the federal grant will hopefully bridge the gap in the remainder of the funding for double tracking of Front Runner. And then the 2 other grant programs worth noting, as Mayor Silvestrini said, is the RAISE grant program that we're pursuing. WFRC, MAG, UDOT, and UTA are pursuing that first last mile RAISE grant program. And then lastly, we're awaiting word if we have been awarded funding for the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program to fund a safety action plan for our region. And we should hear back about that grant program, I believe, within the coming weeks. And so those are the few grant programs that we're currently watching and looking to invest in, coming again out of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And then lastly, I just want to touch briefly on the.
Hey Miranda,
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you. I apologize, but Mayor Mendenhall just indicated to me that she has a pressing appointment that she needs to leave for in 5 minutes, and she'd like to make some comments with respect to. I think there actually are two items. I don't know if you want to address both of them. One of them is the regional
Sure.
transportation plan. The other one is maybe the ballpark stationary plan.
Yes, first, the regional transportation plan. Thanks for giving me a minute. And I know that with the restructuring of the agenda, it got kind of wonky. To the 80% of people who left, I wish they could have stayed. I'm sorry for the weird order of agenda here. First of all, Salt Lake City stands with you. We are opposed to the gondola, but I want to take my time to speak to you, my fellow council members, where we generally 99% of the time vote in full consensus on every single item that we do here. And I know that we know that this isn't where the funding happens. This isn't the ultimate decision. This is a little cog crick forward. This is a single ratchet forward in a massive process. And when projects are this big, of this scale, with this potential impact and this potential cost, of which I agree the under $400 million cost is woefully, woefully underestimated, especially for the age of that cost. When we realize that this is just this little click forward in a giant machine and we are a small cog, I'll tell you, this is the only time and this is the only place I'm ever going to get to vote on a gondola. And I'm going to vote no. And I'm going to keep voting no. This is the only time as mayor I get to do it. It is. The Central Wasatch Commission, we issue statements. Salt Lake City Public Utilities, we send our statement. We send our comments into UDOT in their EIS process, well, along with thousands of others. So even though I know what we're doing here, I know it's tiny, I know it's a requisite part, I know Wasatch Front Regional Council isn't the place where the funding decisions are going to be made for this, but this is our only bite at the apple as mayors. This is the only time I get to say anything out loud about it. So I know that you have to approve a regional transportation plan. I know there's a lot of good stuff in it, but I can't vote yes on that. I can't, because this gondola shouldn't happen. So that's my opinion on it. And to all of you who recognize our little click in this cog, this may be your only voice about this issue too. Second, we have further on the agenda, the ballpark station area plan. And you probably heard the news last week that the bees are moving to Daybreak to the 1,300 acres there that the Larry H. Miller Corporation's acquired. They'll anchor that investment with the ballpark. But Salt Lake City is transforming that neighborhood, and with their decision has unlocked 13.5 acres right there in our downtown core, basically. It's so much more than the station area plan entails, and everything that was just unlocked will be complementary and I think greater enhancement to what the station area plan does. So I hope that you will be excited about the station area plan that is being presented today. I hope that you will support it. We are ready to go with it. I say that looking at my council member over here who has to approve the funding when we get to those parts, but we're bringing you the funding. We're going to implement this plan. So we're excited to bring you the station area plan today. Thank you for giving me a moment out of order.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, Miranda, you're back up. Sorry. And Mayor,
I just wanted to give a brief update on the legislative session, a few things that we're keeping our eye on. And then as Mayor Silvestrini said, we'll need to take action on the WFRC bill tracker. Which this group can take positions on. Right now, the bill tracker currently has proposed positions that this group could take on bills. But then we can vote to approve those if you'd like. A few things that I just wanted to note as far as legislative session goes, specifically with appropriations and funding that are out there. I wanted to focus that on multimodal transportation funding in the legislature right now. Some of this may not be new to you. You've likely heard about some of this in the governor's budget proposals, which now is being proposed through UDOT's budget requests and through other entities. So to quickly run through some of those, active transportation, one of the three pillars, I guess, of multimodal transportation funding. As many of you may know, UDOT, along with the governor's office, proposed a Utah statewide trail network. This would be paved trails to connect our communities throughout the state. Really great. We're very excited about it. We think it might be successful in the legislature this year. So that hits our active transportation. Second is transit. Andrew? sorry. Yeah, Carlos, would you like to say anything about the trails proposal?
Okay, Mr. Chair. Great, thank you. In your packages, we have carefully snuck in there our one sheeter on what our proposal is. And so the idea is really to take the good work that all of our communities have done building trail systems around this state and to really build a spine to try to connect all those together. You know, I've said this, I've got a vision that we can be able to connect every city center, every park, every school with a safe trail that's accessible to people of all abilities to be able to move around this state safely. And so it's something that we are excited about. The governor's excited about this. Senator Harper will be carrying it in a bill that, as I prodded him yesterday, anxiously waiting for it to come out. He said it was number 3 on the attorney's list to write. So as soon as that pops, I hope everyone could find the ability to support it. It will have with it ongoing money. We're proposing a 5% takedown from our capacity fund, the Transportation Investment Fund, which in year 1 would result in about $45 million. Obviously, that grows as the economy grows. And so this is something that we want to build throughout the state, but it's something that's going to live forever and really create this, I think, this third pillar of transportation for our state, because we're going to continue to grow. We can't keep building roadway capacity. There just isn't the space for it. And we need to rely more so on transit and on trail systems. And so I hope if you like the idea and you have the ear of a legislator, that you'll be willing to say, hey, vote for this. So thank you.
Carlos, can I just add to that briefly that there is a support letter for this Utah Trails Initiative that has been circulated. It's in the chat. If you are interested for your community or your organization in having more trails in your community, sign on to the support letter, because we're all working together to try to get that funded through the legislature.
Yeah, great point. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Carlos.
And the key, I think, on that is that it's not like we've seen in the past, one-time funding, but this would provide ongoing funding for trails every year, which really is significant, especially as counties and municipalities work to try to obtain right-of-way for additional trails. We can't always do that at once, so it's incremental. So having that funding ongoing, I think, is truly significant in trying to make progress on our trail system in Utah.
And Mr. Chair, another distinction here is, you all know that we've been operating a grant program and where communities have been able to apply for grants, but it's a 40% match from the community. And so it really has been something that has, benefited those communities that have been able to come up with that match. This will be 100% on the state for us to not only build, but to take care of and maintain and operate. So we're looking to join the communities in being a more active partner on this.
I've signed on to that letter, unless this is new. How old is this? Do I want to re-sign it?
Yeah, so Mayor, this is the 3rd year of doing a similar letter. So within the last few years, the legislature has put over $75 million towards active transportation projects. They put a chunk last year and the chunk the year before. Both years we asked for signatories of this letter. We're asking yet again for those interested and supportive to sign on this new letter in support of the statewide trail network. So we would love your signature again, Mayor, if you are willing.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chair, if I might just quickly, on behalf of our Active Transportation Committee, which I'm the chair, this is a big deal. This is an opportunity to really expand a paved trail network in a way that can be used for transportation, for commuting, and for all of those things that we've talked about for so long. So, our committee's worked hard on it. We're excited. I encourage all of you to be excited and happy about it because it's monumental. I want to thank the governor for putting it in there.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair,
Walker.
can I make a comment as well?
Yes, Mayor
I
Caldwell.
want to thank Carlos for your leadership in this. This was not something I imagined 10 years ago when I was the active transportation chair and everything else. And I've heard from a bunch of birds and bees that you were the architect of this. And I want to thank you for that. This is a big lift. This is a big deal. And I'm extremely proud of the work you've put into this. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, active transportation projects, bike lanes and things like that are things that municipalities and counties are always trying to build, but it's always so hard to find the funding to be able to do that. So to be able to have a dedicated source of funding that's ongoing is huge. And I also encourage municipalities to combine together to present trails that connect our communities. That are multi-jurisdictional, not just a trail for Mill Creek, but a trail that connects Mill Creek, Holiday, Taylorsville, West Valley, and South Salt Lake. That's the kind of thing we're looking for.
Okay, thank you all. Great discussion. To kind of wrap this up, transit. What might we see in way of transit this legislative session? The governor's budget proposed money for Point of the Mountain Transit. Also proposed a 1-year zero fare pilot with transit that is statewide, not just the UTA service area. And then lastly, we've also heard, there may be additional funding for front runners. The Senate president spoke even of support of this in his opening comments on the first day of session. So may continue to invest in that. And then lastly, funding for roads. In the governor's budget, there was funding for transportation debt repayment, funding for the state infrastructure bank, and then funding for corridor preservation. And we're seeing that with some legislative proposals as well, not just with the governor's budget proposal. So lastly, I'll just go ahead and share the WFRC bill tracker, show you all how to. Actually, Rosie, is there any way you could pull that up for us? Sorry, I think I got disconnected from the meeting. So if you go to the WFRC website, we can show you how to find the WFRC bill tracker. On the bill tracker, we will list a number of bills that we are watching, that we are interested in, and then we'll provide summaries of the bills and positions on the bills as well, which we'll be able to show here. So you can find the bill tracker under the public involvement tab of our website. You'll find our 2023 bill tracker. And then Jordan, if you just want to maybe scroll down a little bit and show folks what we're looking at here. We track not only transportation related bills, but bills that impact transportation or that are transportation related. Wasatch choice related, right? So air quality, transportation, land use, housing, many of those different things. And so there are a number of recommendations on here that just need support from this body. And so Mayor Silvestrini, with that, I'll turn that over to you and maybe just make one last note here. We do send out regularly legislative session updates each week. If you're not getting those and you want to be, please let me or Rosie know and we can add you to that. We kind of give timely, hopefully helpful information on what's happening up on Capitol Hill during these crazy 45 days during the legislative session. And so in addition to the bill tracker, that's where you can find some hopefully helpful information. So Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Miranda. And I just want to indicate to most of the members of the council or others who may be interested, we hold a weekly, we didn't do it today because of the council meeting now, but we hold a weekly transportation legislative committee at the Capitol. I think it's the Aspen room that we've been in. I don't know if that's the Seagull now. Okay, Seagull room. It's on the first floor, kind of where the cafeteria kind of used to be. But 8 a.m. Thursday mornings, everybody's welcome to that. We during the session, in between council meetings, we review the bills that are being discussed and how they are changing, and then give direction to our staff in terms of how to lobby those bills with respect to their impact on our regional transportation system. So I invite you to come to that. With that, I'm going to look for a motion to approve the positions that are indicated in the bill tracker on the legislation that's in the session right now so that our staff has direction about how to proceed.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the positions in the bill tracker. Any discussion on any of those? Then all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And I think that's it with respect to the chair's report, and we're ready to move on to consideration of item number 5 based upon the reordering of the agenda. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mayor Ramsey now, Chair of the Regional Growth Committee. Mayor Ramsey, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Today, we have an action item that we need to discuss, we need to vote on. I think we're all aware of that. Today, we are deciding about the release of the draft of the 2023 through 2050 Regional Transportation Plan for public comment. As you know, we're in the final year of our 4-year process of updating the Regional Transportation Plan. I'll probably refer to it as the RTP. And today, as the council, you are being asked to release the draft RTP for public review. The Wasatch Choice Vision is the framework that coordinates transportation, land use, and economic development, and the RTP is the transportation element of our shared Wasatch Choice Vision. It charts the course for regional roads, transit, and trails for the next 30 years. We have Jory Johnner there with you in person, WFRC Long Range Planning Manager. I'm going to turn it to Jory to introduce this item, give a little more context for this, and then those who would like to comment on this item from the council. We're going to have discussion about this. The discussion time is coming amongst the council. And appreciate all the public that were there to give some public input today. Your thoughts on an element of this. Council will have a robust discussion, I'm sure. But we're going to do our staff presentation first. So I'm going to turn it over to Jory to start out.
Thank you, Mayor. Jory Johnner, Long Range Planning Manager here at WFRC. At the end of this presentation, would like you to have a better understanding of what the draft Regional Transportation Plan is and what our next steps are. Okay. As the mayor mentioned, the Wasatch Choice Vision ties economic development, land use, and transportation together. I'm going to take the time today to focus in on the Regional Transportation Plan, the transportation component. The Regional Council developed and adopted the 10 goals you see there on the right of the screen in about 2016. These goals were used throughout the entire planning process, and to highlight a few of those, they include manage and reliable traffic conditions, livable and healthy communities, clean air, and ample open space and recreational opportunities. So we've used these all throughout the entire process from the start to the end of it. And all of our work items within WFRC really revolve around these 10 goals. What's included in the Regional Transportation Plan? It's multimodal. So we include roadways, transit, active transportation, which is walking and biking facilities. We've developed these in coordination with our transportation partners, UDOT, UTA, local communities, key stakeholders, and the public. Oh, one other thing. As you note on this the slide, you can see the variety of different transportation options that our plan considers, from freeways to major roadways in the system, from fixed guideway transit down to bus service, and from separated trails to on-street bikeways. The Regional Transportation Plan is adopted every 4 years, so we run on a 4-year cycle. It's fiscally constrained, meaning it's not a wish list of projects, but we need to identify available funding, either existing or new funding in the future. It must comply with our air quality conformity budgets. And it considers land use, the local community's land use and connections to those. As you can see, it's not just a list of projects between now and 2050, but we look at projects when they're needed and financial constraints by phase, so 10-year increments. And you can see the phase 1 is 2023 to 2032, phase 2 is 2033 to 42, and the phase 3 is 2043 to 2050. We have an unfunded bucket of projects. Those are projects that are still needed by 2050. We just haven't, we don't have the funding for that. And I'll talk a little bit more of that in the future or in a couple slides. One other key piece on this slide is you can see at the bottom there that all of the funding sources that the state, local community, and federal all rely on the transportation plan, and specifically the phase 1 of the RTP. So whenever the local communities are looking to apply for funds, the state's looking to their programming, they look at the regional transportation plan and the phase 1 of the plan. So we, the collective we, all of us, have been working on this plan for 3.5 years. We started off about 3 years ago looking at external forces and policies. We've identified 22 of those policies and forces, and it included within those are connected autonomous vehicles, telecommuting, micromobility, signal priority for transit, road usage charges, street connectivity on the local networks. Those are a few of the ones that we looked at a few years ago that helped influence project selection. About a year ago in 2021, we worked with you all to identify a list of projects needed by 2020 or by 2050. This last year, we've identified when those projects were needed, and then finally we assessed the financial considerations and identified when the projects would fit within the financial constraint or fiscal constraint of the plan. We're now ready to move on to our public comment period and final documentation of the plan. This last fall, we've had an extensive outreach effort. If you all remember, we had transportation workshops with local communities that included elected officials and key staff members. We met with a host of key stakeholders. As you can see there on the right, they range from transportation, land use, environmental groups, universities and colleges, key land holding groups across the region, and resource agencies. So we've done a pretty robust engagement effort this last fall. In total of over the last 3 years, we've received over 3,000 comments from all of the outreach efforts that we've done on our regional transportation planning process, and we've addressed those as we've went through the process. We've also worked with you, local communities, to identify household and job forecasts. And you can see a link there at the bottom of the screen. This is a really useful interactive map where you can get a lot of detail on the current and projected jobs and household that we use in our transportation planning process, down to a traffic analysis zone up to a city level or a county level. And you can see it's not only used within our regional transportation plan, but we use this in transportation studies, local planning, the water districts, the school districts all use this information as they're working and looking towards the future. As you all are aware, we never have enough funding for our needs. So you can see here the light blue bars are the needs by mode in the regional transportation plan. The dark blue bar is the financially constrained plan, the amount of revenues that we are forecasting by mode. In total, there's over $33 billion of projects in our regional transportation plan needed, with just over $25 billion of funding available. Want to talk a little bit about what makes up a big component of the regional transportation plan is the projects. So as I said, they're multimodal, roadway, active transportation, and transit projects. You'll see there's over 450 roadway projects within this plan, over 1,000 miles of project, 750 plus active transportation projects that make up over 1,200 miles of active transportation projects within this plan, and about 90 projects on the transit side, over 400 miles of transit projects. In total, that equates to over 1,300 projects, 2,600 miles of transportation infrastructure, and $33 billion, as I mentioned. One thing to note is this does not include all transportation projects needed between now and 2050. These are the projects that are deemed regionally significant. So collectors, minor arterials, principal arterials, the freeways. On the transit side, it's core bus routes, bus rapid transit, streetcar, light rail, commuter rail. On the transit, or the active transportation side, it's the major active transportation projects that connect the communities across the region. We know that there are local roadways, local streets, subdivision streets, local bus service, express bus service, on-demand bus service that aren't included in this plan, but I just want to be really clear of what the RTP is and what it is not in that case. What we have here available, and you'll see at the bottom, WFRC.org /RTP/2023/draft/map or dash, I should say, is where you'll find all these projects. You can click on the projects, a pop-up window will pop up. It'll provide all the information, the cost, the needs phase, the phasing, tos and froms. You can use this interactive map to sort projects. If you're interested in just looking at what's in the next 10 years and all three modes, you can do that. If you're just looking at what transit projects are needed 20 to 30 years out, you can do that as well. It has a lot of sortable features. You can look at just local roads. You can look at just UDOT roads. You can look at them together. It's a really useful tool. This will be the interactive map that we're taking comments on. And so tomorrow, the online comment feature will be available here. You'll be able to click a project specifically and then leave a comment on that project. A couple performance measures I want to talk to you about that this plan is noting is access to jobs and accessibility, job accessibility to the average household. So as you can see here, today there's just about 300,000 jobs that people can access from their household via car, and 22,000 using transit, the current transit system. In the future, that bumps up to 360,000 and almost 40,000 via transit. It's about a 20% increase in the access to opportunity. The minutes driving per household per day will go down by about 5 minutes. It's not gonna be free flow all over the place, but it is showing an improvement in the overall amount of time you'll be in your car in the future compared to now. And lastly, vehicle miles traveled per household per day will go down from 66 miles to about 60 miles per household. So those are a few of the performance measures I wanted to share with you. These are the next steps. Hopefully we'll be able to go out to public comment after this meeting. We're set up to do that tomorrow. We're completing you'll have access to the draft regional transportation plan document and our air quality conformity document, along with that interactive map with specific details on each of the projects. We have a meeting in March with Regional Growth Committee and the council that we will report back to during that meeting. And then in May 25th, we're hoping for approval of our regional transportation plan from the regional council, you all. This next summer, we'll continue to work with our 3 other metropolitan planning organizations, UDOT and UTA, to complete the unified transportation plan in preparation for this fall. And that's it. So Mayor Ramsey, back to you.
Thank you. Jory, we appreciate it. So last week at our Regional Growth Committee, we had a good discussion, a good robust conversation, specifically with regards to transportation projects in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And so I'm going to turn it over to Andrew. At that meeting, we left with the reassurance that there would be additional discussion this last week. And I know there's been a lot of discussion that's taken place. Andrew, can you give us an update on how that's going and where that's at?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ramsey. And just to confirm, can I go ahead? Okay. Thank you, Mayor Ramsey, and thank you, Jory, and to the staff from our agency and all the agencies that have worked so hard over months and years with your communities to put the draft plan together. We really appreciate everybody's work and collaboration. There are hundreds of projects in the RTP in all modes and all across the region. And every project is important to someone or to some community, but as we all know, from today and from over the years, there's been particular focus, and understandably so, on transportation and impacts in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And we sincerely welcome the people that have joined us today, here in person and online, who have deeply held feelings about that area. You're not alone. We have deeply held feelings about that as well. Now, the RTP, the Regional Transportation Plan, has long identified the need for transportation improvements in Little Cottonwood Canyon. But the plan did not identify what those specific improvements should be. This was in recognition and in deference to the extraordinary processes and engagement focused on these questions, including the Mountain Accord, the Central Wasatch Commission, and other efforts. Ultimately, as we know, a federally recognized environmental process was initiated. That EIS process is a far more detailed evaluation of alternatives and impacts than our more general planning process. So to explain a little bit about that with regard to the process, our role as a Metropolitan Planning Organization, when we're developing, adopting, or amending a regional transportation plan, we reflect the current status of an environmental document. We feel that this is the most transparent approach to the public. It's also consistent with the advice that we've received from the Federal Highway Administration. For Little Cottonwood Canyon, this has been noted already, but it's important to reemphasize. For Little Cottonwood Canyon, the draft RTP reflects all of the elements of transportation-related projects from the EIS that was released by UDOT several months ago. So the plan shows enhanced bus service, congestion-based pricing, and roadway modifications on Wasatch Boulevard in phase 1, right, in the first 10 years. Avalanche snow sheds in phase 2, the 10 years after that, and a gondola in phase 3, which is 2043 to 2050, consistent with the EIS. Now, in response to comments from Mayors Wilson and Zoltansky last week at the Regional Growth Committee meeting, we've updated the draft Regional Transportation Plan materials from last week. For example, the interactive map that Jory noted. In recognition that the EIS process is not complete, anytime that we refer to a gondola, we're also including the notation that this reflects the current status of the federally mandated EIS process. If that process ultimately results in a modified approach, the RTP will be changed to reflect that modified approach. And finally, I'll just note again that the action before the WFRC Council today is to release the draft RTP for public comment. That's part of the RTP development process. It is not an approval of the plan or of any specific projects, nor is it an allocation of funding to any specific projects. As Jory noted, with your approval, we will open a public comment period tomorrow that will extend for a month, and we welcome comments on any element of the regional transportation plan for the entire region. Thank you.
Mayor Ramsey.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, it's time. We're going to have some discussion about this as a council, which we welcome, and it's time to have that discussion. I am going to initiate, as is regularly protocol, there would be a motion on a table we would discuss. I'm going to move that we release the draft phased and financially constrained 2023 through 2050 Regional Transportation Plan and draft Air Quality Memorandum number 41 for public comment from January 27, 2023 to February 26, 2023.
Second.
Chair, I'll second.
So we have a second. I think Mayor Caldwell made the second. All right. So we're going to have to, or was it?
Two online, I think. So.
Okay, Troy did. All right. It came from down there.
But I would second it.
I'll recognize Councilmember Amy Winder Newton from Salt Lake County, and welcome, Amy. I know that you had a meeting with the governor before this, so thanks for coming. So we're going to have discussion on this motion. I think before we do that, it would be appropriate to turn to Carlos Braceros, the director of UDOT, because you're responsible for the EIS. And would you like to offer any initial comments or anything?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And first of all, thank you for how you've done this meeting today. Well done. And I want to thank Wasatch Front staff and all the staffs, all the teams in your communities for the work, the 3.5 years that's gone into preparing this long-range plan. It really is, Utah stands out in terms of how we do this. And so we are at a very, a very important point that's reflective of the work that's taken place. We obviously support process. We support process in the NEPA process, National Environmental Policy Act, but we also very much support the planning process. This has been through a rigorous planning process. Every project that's shown within this RTP is projects that work together as a system. And so we support the motion as made, and we would look forward to the public comments. We always learn from public comments. And I think it's important for the public to be able to have the ability to be able to comment on this system of projects that's being proposed. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Carlos. And I'll just note before we open it up for discussion that to clarify once again, the motion that's been made is to release the RTP for public comment. It's not to approve it. And the other thing that it's important to note with respect to this is that the RTP does not provide funding for the gondola, nor does it actually, it reflects the status of the EIS, and the factual status of the EIS is that the gondola is recognized as the preferred alternative. That doesn't mean that the gondola is ever going to be funded. And it doesn't mean that that we're going to have a gondola, but it puts it in the plan. And the other thing that I think is significant to note about this is that also in this plan that we're considering releasing for public comment today is the phased approach. It's the enhanced busing, it's the tolling, it's the everything else. And if the RTP isn't approved and there's some delay with respect to the record of decision, unfortunately, those of us that favored that phased approach may be disappointed about that as well, because that's part of this package. So open it for discussion and just maybe raise hands. And this is for discussion among council members or alternates that are voting today. I know Mayor Soltansky is voting today in place of Mayor Overson, who's not here. So Mr. Stevenson.
Joy, a quick question on the public comment period during that 30-day period. Exactly what is the process for the public to comment? And then at the end of that, it will come back before this body. Do we have a date that exactly that'll happen?
Yeah, we will collect the comments and then we'll assess them. Depending on the timing of getting through them, we hopefully will be able to bring the board, regional growth committee or board, the comments in March meetings. And then look for the final approval in May is our current schedule and timeframe.
Is as far as the information getting out to the public that this is a public comment period, how will we go about marketing that?
Mike, I think Mike's online. We have a pretty robust process right now. I think we've already, we've got the newspapers. And then if you go to our website, if you go to WFRC.org, it should be right on the front slider board tomorrow. I don't know if it's up right now. It will be easily accessible and you'll have access to the air quality conformity determination. You'll have access to a form to make comments on them. You'll have access to the draft document and you'll have access to or a link to the interactive map that I had talked about.
Okay, and then one last question on it. So let's say as I'm trying to learn more about this, do I call you and ask you the questions, or how does the public go about being able to understand better about what this process is, and as far as what some of the, good and bad things are as far as the project would go in the, really the next 20 years?
Specifics on a project, probably not me. I don't know all those answers. Our document will have a good amount of detail. I think it's around 150 pages of the process to get to where we're at right now. You can call me Bob anytime you want.
I was going to go ahead and put your telephone number out to everybody, but I guess I won't now. So
thank you.
Okay, I've been advised that Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall is on the phone. I don't know if she's on the phone or on the Zoom call, but she wanted to be heard in the next 7 minutes so that because she has to.
Sorry.
So Erin, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just hoping to be able to participate in this motion. That's all.
Okay, so what we have right now is a motion to release the draft RTP. That's the only motion. That motion has been made and seconded, and that's the only motion on the floor.
Yep. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Mayor Zoltansky, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve the RTP as presented, but remove the language anticipating the gondola phase of Little Cottonwood Canyon funding.
I'd like to ask for a friendly, and that is, and then I'd be happy to second, and that is that the additional elements beyond that one line item of the three, I think 92.
191
Yeah,
million.
390 million are also removed.
Correct.
1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so I.
So
I
the
just clearly-
additional, the snow shed line items and the additional items that are listed throughout the plan beyond just that capital cost.
Can I, may I, just for clarification purposes, are you saying remove all elements from the entire EIS? Or just the,
Well, we're not talking about the EAS, we're talking about the RTP.
well, I understand yes, thank you. I'm just want to make sure we're clear, because Mayor Zoltansky, you referred specifically to the gondola. And Mayor Wilson, you seem to be broadening. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
we're clear.
I mean, I think that what was revealed in last week that the mayor and I had a chance to review included a summary sheet or that listed gondola.
Yes.
Yet I asked for some additional information from your staff that included the other elements that are built into the gondola, the assumptions, the other line items that were not part of the summary sheet. So
Can
those
you
would
identify
include,
those with some specifics?
do you guys have that summary sheet handy?
Yeah, and you're talking about what was built into the 391 million, if I'm understanding you right. You're not saying remove the bus service. You're not saying remove the tolling, or are you saying remove everything?
I'm suggesting that we move the snow sheds, the tolling, the busing, because this is somewhat technical, I know, but I think that the goal would be to come back with a modified plan, understanding that you can't unravel the entire plan today. None of us would like that. 99% of this plan, I strongly agree with. But I think until we get to the point as a community to come to some agreement that we should take a pause and that Wasatch Front Regional Council should not move forward any element of the gondola. And I don't know, Mayor, we haven't had a chance to, if you want to keep a more conservative stance.
So that's
your
a friendly suggestion for you to amend your substitute motion. And I think we're going to have it clarified, but are you open to the friendly suggestion?
I'm open to the friendly because it also includes widening of Wasatch and all those pre-staging. So I'd like to, this is the summary sheet. Yeah, I'd like to include this and table it for further discussion.
And
So
just,
remove it, pass it absent the summary sheet and move forward with the remainder of the plan.
Okay, so some of us don't have the summary sheet. So I'm going to ask you to restate your motion and identify what you want. And what I understand the motion is just remove that specific language referencing the gondola or the other items pertaining to the EIS, that Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS, and not the other elements. You're not proposing we delay the entire RTP.
No.
All right, so can you restate your motion? Please?
Okay, I move that we remove the Little Cottonwood Canyon gondola project from the anticipated funding, and that includes the list of the Cottonwood Canyon snow shed, Wasatch Boulevard widening, Big Cottonwood Canyon congestion-based tolling pricing, Little Cottonwood Canyon congestion-based tolling, Wasatch Boulevard shared use path from Fort Union Boulevard to Little Cottonwood Canyon Park and Ride, Little Cottonwood Canyon Core 10 transit service, Little Cottonwood Canyon gondola, Cottonwood Canyon's transit hub, the gravel pit mobility hub, Wasatch Boulevard noise walls, trailhead parking, and hazardous waste remediation for EPA Superfund.
and I would offer just one further point of explanation. The list that Mayor Zoltansky was just reading from is the entirety of the transportation related projects that were identified in the Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That's what the list was, because as we noted, we reflected in the EIS the entirety, all of the phases from the EIS at this point.
And I'm going to second that motion with the comment that clearly there are many elements listed on the itemized list that the mayor presented that are good solutions. And what this motion would do if it passes is allow us to take some time, come back, not advance the gondola today. I think that's a disservice to the public. I have some broader comments to make. If I'm allowed, once we take the vote, I know normally we would take some time now, but with Mayor Mendenhall needing to drop off. I'm respectful of her time.
All right, we have a motion, we have a substitute motion and a second to basically release the RTP for public comment without or to remove the language relating to the transportation related elements in the Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS.
I do also have to, I'm so sorry. My clarification, I just have to, for informational purposes, that would be a significant change to the RTP, which would mean that we would have to sort of go back and redo things. So we would not start public comment. We could not start public comment tomorrow. It would delay I just want to be clear that would delay public comment. I'm not exactly sure until when, but we would have to, yes.
And as much as I understand that, this is a staff produced recommendation to a governing body. And I've been in a situation time and time again where staff presents to a body and it's time for the decision makers to represent their constituencies. I appreciate the staff. I appreciate UDOT and its staff and the work that goes into planning and keeping our county and our broader community and our constituencies running. However, I think we would ask that of them.
Councilmember Amy Winter-Newton.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You just want to speak to the substitute motion. I feel like we're doing our public a disservice if we aren't recognizing that the Federal Highway Administration has specifically said that this plan should contain what is in the EIS, and then to take elements of that out. I mean, I understand there's emotions on this and people have strong opinions, but at the end of the day, this is a plan that's just incorporating other elements of other plans. And we're not a decision maker on the gondola. We're not funding the gondola. So for the reality of what the plan really, the plan should show what's reality and what's in some of these other plans. And I think we're doing our public a disservice if we don't include those elements. Thank you.
Mayor Dally, did you have a comment?
Well, I guess I just wanted to clarify, why it's improper to separate the gondola out, like phase 3 out specifically, why that is problematic. We have to either consider the EIS or not consider the EIS. That's what's on the table right now.
The motion is to eliminate all references to Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS funding in the RTP. Whether we have to do that or not is, I suppose, debatable.
Yeah, I guess my issue is I think everybody's in support of what they see in phase 1 and 2, and this is going to stall progress on those items, correct? If we take this vote, and it's not proper to just separate out phase 3, which is the gondola.
I don't know if Carlos or anybody from UDOT
I'd like
wants
to
to address
respond
that.
to that. We don't have finality in the EIS. That's the reason I'm bringing this, because we don't have the record of decision. We have a recommendation, but we don't have finality yet. This is not right for decision. So it may be coming in weeks. It may be coming in a month. Let's take it up at that time. But to anticipate that the gondola is going to be the record of decision, it's putting the cart before the horse. We've seen from today's presentation, from the feedback we've heard from the public compared to last week's when this wasn't even on the radar. This body, I would suggest as commissioners, we are ill prepared to make such a weighty decision today because we don't have the benefit of the final decision, the final record of decision. And to advance the whole regional transportation plan, $25 billion on a project that we've got an unnecessary flashpoint, separate it out. If it has to be in totality, then it has to be in totality until we have the record of decision. A few days is not enough time to fully vet this. I have a city attorney, I have federal lobbyists who are suggesting there's a different path forward than what's presented here, the necessity of keeping this language as presented. An asterisk is not the same. It's saying, we want this gondola is anticipated to be built and funded. Yes, it's a plan. Yes, it could be amended, but it's the pebble that starts at the top of Little Cottonwood Canyon and it snowballs down. And we are now under Mount Superior and heading towards Seven Sisters. And as that advances, it's harder and harder to go back and change. It is not right for a decision. So respectfully, Councilmember Winder Newton, respectfully to the staff, it's not ready for your decision today. So if we have to pull it out, let's segregate it. We're drawing in an unnecessary flashpoint at this stage of the proceedings that really we don't need to deal with right now. I want to keep this from derailing the progress of the many great projects that are on the RTP. And as commission members, is it in your interest to join me and Mayor Wilson in support of the substitute motion? Indeed, it is, because $391 million is a large chunk of change that's taking priority from projects in your communities. It's advancing the gondola as a priority overall in the regional transportation plan. It's not right for decision. It doesn't belong
Okay,
here
let's
yet.
not repeat ourselves.
Thank you. I'll submit it.
Mr.
I'm
Chair,
gonna
if
hear
I can just
Carlos
make
and
a
then Mayor
comment.
Petro had her hand up too.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think what's important here is to remember what the what the action in front of us here is. I heard, Mayor, you say that it's not ripe for a decision, but I think we do ourselves a disservice if we don't allow this council to be informed by input from the public. We're not only doing a disservice to ourselves, but to the public to be able to comment on this. If the action is successful and this is pulled out, it will be even more difficult to make a decision, because how do you make a decision without being informed by that input? So I would think that the decision to release for public comment would be really one to be able to get more information in to better inform us.
So that's exactly where I was going to go as far as a point of clarification, that the purpose of the public hearing is to hear from them so that we can then make a very good discussion as far as, do we proceed forward or not? I understand the concern as far as the timing, but I can also attest to the fact that I do know that UDOT does listen. They listen to the residents, because we witnessed that in our city, and they were able to come back and help us come up with a better plan for Highway 89. So I think, in all honesty, we're doing the citizens a disservice if we do not open this up for public comment so that you can hear everything and help you come up with a better solution, because right now you're going by your opinions, not necessarily those of the public.
And can we just clarify, it references the regional transportation plan reflects the current status of the process of the EIS. When is it anticipated that that will be finalized? And the secondary question would be, why wouldn't we wait till it's finalized to take it out to public comment?
Go ahead, Carlos.
I'll respond to the first one as best as we know. I think, first of all, I have generalized ideas, but again, process will control the timing. We will not set a date and then drive process to conform to that. So we're going through and evaluating. I believe there was over 13,000 comments on the final EIS, and we're learning things from those comments right now. We may need to make some additional public involvement. We're not sure yet, but if we move down the path that we best guess today, we would anticipate being able to issue a record decision, I'll say sometime this summer. Is that fair? I'm being very general about that.
Thank you, Carlos. Any other comments?
Yes, one.
Mr. Stenger.
Again, I know, there is a lot of emotion, especially when you're looking at something going through a pristine canyon. I've been fortunate enough, been in gondolas and rail cars, or whatever the other one is. Norway, Rio, Barcelona, Costa Rica, even the Matterhorn in Switzerland, I've read too. And they move lots and lots of people very efficiently, very clean, very green. And these are huge projects that we don't know if it'll ever happen in Utah, but to not even consider it, I think is short-sighted for our future. And so therefore, to keep it in the study, I'm in agreement of, and I think, we can always not issue any money if people decide they don't think it's worth it.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor Caldwell, you had a comment?
I would just add, what we're doing, we're not approving anything. We're opening this up to public comment, which is what everybody wants. So I think it's really important that we take the professionals' opinions and the studies that have gone into this and open it to public comment. That's all we're really doing here. And so a substitute motion to say, let's take this out and let's take this out or anything else, I think it all ought to be up for public debate and public comment. So I would vote no to the substitute motion, but in light of transparency and let's find the best solutions for what's going on here. I'm a big user there as well, and I think everybody in here is a part of that. Why would we take anything off the public debate table? It ought to all be on the public debate table. So that's where I'm coming in on it.
Mayor Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I know we have a couple of council members that are ready to drop off. Commissioner Harvey, I'll give you maybe the last word, and then then I'll call a question.
Thank you. I was going to call for the question at the end of my comments. In Weber County, we've gone through this twice, 2006 and in 2017. We've gone through, we trust the EIS process, we trust this process. And so I'll be supporting the first motion, not the substitute motion.
Mr. Chair, I didn't have a chance to make my comments other than to address a specific
All right, go
point.
ahead,
I'd
Mary.
like a minute if you don't mind. Well, thank you. I want to thank people for coming and taking the time today. And I appreciate being a member of this body. I'm proud of it. I enjoy the camaraderie, and most importantly, I enjoy the work. I, like the maker of the motion, agree with 99 point whatever percent is represented in this plan. I want to thank everyone for the work that's gone into it. I think it's important to point out a couple of things, and I'm going to address the gondola first, and then I'll address the decision today in the process and why I seconded the motion. First of all, I approach my job bringing what I bring to the table, as each of you do, as people who are engaged in community, who have a background with some expertise in this and that, and somehow we land in a chair of authority and decision-making. So I bring that to the table, and I also bring my own opinion. My own opinion is this is too precious a canyon to build a gondola like we hear Europe and other areas. This is a 7.5, 8 mile canyon. It's very narrow. I've been to the Alps. We're not the Alps. I also believe strongly that UDOT, for whatever reason, Carlos, I never heard the story, but we decided to be one of 8 states in the nation to do our EIS differently. And we were, I believe it's the Trump administration were authorized, no, right, oh, okay. Well, before that, we're authorized to be in the driver's seat of making this call through a transit lead, right? EIS are not usually done that way, but we did it that way. I respect UDOT. I appreciate UDOT. I enjoy and appreciate Carlos personally. It's been fun to get to know you. However, I think we authorized the wrong body to be in the driver's seat, and the stakeholders throughout our communities care about this. Mayors, former mayors, current mayors, legislators, we all have a voice in this. And I think that we as Wasatch Front, I really spent some time trying to figure out what is my role from last week when Mayor Zoltansky and I voted no at the subcommittee. What role does Wasatch Front Regional Council have in this process? I think we actually have a big one. And I disagree with my colleague, and she and I get along famously, but oftentimes we're on a different side of the issue. I want to point out, however, that the majority of our council passed a resolution that does not favor the gondola. And I think it's important to remember that. I speak not just for my office with my voice as a canyon lover, but also for our county, the county that this jurisdiction falls within our unincorporated area. It also has significance to my role regionally. So as I approach this, I look at UDOT's journey, all of our journey. I think they were put in a position years ago to measure this challenge in a certain way, and that was to reduce traffic. We've since heard from the public, this is a heck of a lot more complicated. This is expensive. This is impactful. We didn't know back then, nor did Carlos and the team, that we would need towers, 22 of them, many that exceed 200 feet. We didn't know at that point in time that we were going to see a lot of elements to this that would impact our landscapes, our access, that the end result is going to be more expensive. I'll trust that the very bright minds at UDOT did a good job with the facts they have, but we haven't done this. We don't know. We're assuming when this is all fit together that it's going to work beautifully. my former colleague used to make fun of a big theater that was coming, and he called it the Bad A Theater, the Bat. Well, we're getting a Bad A parking garage, bigger than initially planned at the base of the canyon. That's going to hurt our process, and it's going to scar our canyon. The bigger the parking, the bigger you got to run cars down Wasatch Boulevard. Is that really what our community wants? I've heard no from the area mayors, the vast majority of them. So back to the point, Wasatch Front does have a role in this. We can actually stop it. We can say, oh, let's not wait for the lawsuit. Oh, let's not take another, you all know I try and work in your communities, Mayor, and everything I can. I'd like to spend my time on arts, culture, and other things and getting the canyon right in the right way, and not lobbying the legislature to tell them to never fund this. And believe me, that's the next step, along with Mayor Mendenhall, Mayor Zoltansky, other area leaders. We don't need to waste our community time on a lawsuit. And I want to get to the final point. My opinion on this matters. I spent a lot of time studying. I have emotion on this. I've been accused by having emotion, as the people in this room do. My emotion comes from the station wagon going up the canyon time and time again, and the old boots and the skis and the memories and the love of the hiking and my family legacy. My father being the first climber to climb the Gate Buttress, a critical climbing route. His passion against this gondola and for preservation, that's just who I am. But what has become most compelling to me? The data. So thank you, UDOT, and the process that does require these comments to be public. Thank you to and I'm going to get the name wrong, the Wasatch Student Alliance, who went through the data. My son's a member. Thank you, students of the Wasatch. Their analysis, I looked at the spreadsheet, shows 89%, if I'm right, opposing this gondola, right? And then one news reporter took the time to go through herself. Her number's lower, but it is 60 some odd %. So let's split the difference and say that 3 out of 4 people who have commented are against this thing. What does that tell us?
Mr. Chair,
What
I'm
is
I'm
it?
going to object. I find this to be a little bit unfair. This is a vote on opening it up to public opinion on not whether or not.
Mayor, I
it's
am going to
right
ask you to
or
direct your
not.
comments to the council rather than the
So
audience at this point,
if
too.
we can take a vote on this, I think that would be more comfortable
Do it. I'll
because
give you-
everybody has strong opinions about this. But the motion is on the table and I think we need to take a.
And the Wasatch Front Regional Council can stop it today if they choose to. Many of you don't know where you are. If that's the case, I would ask you to support the motion so that you have time to learn. If you've decided on this, then vote against the motion, the mayor's, the substitute. If you know. If you've done the homework, you're convinced this is it, then vote no. If you want more time, it puts us all in a better position to determine, have conversation.
My
and
understanding
be
is
able to
that's
move
what the
forward.
vote is.
Okay, let's go. I'm gonna call the question. I'm gonna ask Andrea to do this by roll call vote of voting members of the council and alternates. Yep, sorry, we're going,
I'm going to be, Mayor Mendenhall is off the call right now, so I will be voting for Salt Lake City. Is that appropriate?
that's fine. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Commissioner Perry.
This is the substitute vote.
We're voting on the substitute motion. A yes vote on the substitute motion would eliminate the language relating.
Mayor Stanger,
No.
Mayor Shepherd,
We say
No.
thank you.
Mayor,
Same is not a vote.
Mayor Petro,
No.
Commissioner Stevenson. Commissioner Newton, I know you're online. I'll give you a moment to. No, not Winder Newton, Commissioner Newton from Morgan County. Maybe he had to drop. Mayor Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Dugan for Mayor Mendenhall,
Yes.
Mayor Ramsey,
No.
Councilmember Winder Newton.
No.
Mayor Silvestrini,
No.
Mayor Dolly,
Yes.
Mayor Burton,
Yes.
Mayor Zoltansky for Mayor Overson,
Yes.
Mayor Wind for Councilmember Wardle. Commissioner Farrer, Commissioner Harvey, Mayor Dandoy,
No.
Mayor Caldwell,
No.
Carlos Braceras, Carlton Christensen. And quickly back to Commissioner Newton. And Mayor Wynn. Oh,
This is Commissioner Fackrell. Do you want me to vote in his stead?
yes, please.
No.
Thank you. And Mayor Wynn for Councilmember Wardle. Okay. Mayor Silvestrini, that.
Okay, so there are 5 yeas and 14 noes, so the substitute motion fails, and that returns us to the original motion to release the draft RTP, and I'll ask for a roll call vote on this as well.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Mayor Stanger,
Yes.
Mayor Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Petro,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevenson. Commissioner Fackrell for Commissioner Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
No.
Councilmember Dugan for Mayor Mendenhall,
No.
Mayor Ramsey,
Yes.
Councilmember Winder Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Silvestrini,
Yes.
Mayor Dolly,
No.
Mayor Burton,
Yes.
Mayor Zoltansky for Mayor Overson,
No.
Mayor Wynn for Councilmember Wardle, Commissioner Farrer, Commissioner Harvey, Mayor Dandoy,
Yes.
Mayor Caldwell,
Yes.
Carlos Braceras,
Yes.
Carlton Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have 15 yes votes and 4 no votes, and the motion to release the RTP passes. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the great debate, and thanks for those who are making public comment. And what this means is that the RTP will be released and it'll be available for public comment beginning tomorrow. Okay, let's now turn to item 4 on our agenda.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we have an
sorry,
item 5B.
All right, you got more. We got to talk about ballpark. Go ahead,
Yes.
Ramsey.
Thank you. Item 5B, we have an action item that also comes to you from the Regional Growth Committee to certify Salt Lake City's Ballpark Station Area Plan. As you know, HB 462 was adopted last legislative session to help address Utah's challenges with housing availability and affordability. And one key element of the bill is the requirement for cities with transit stations to develop station area plans. This encourages more growth to happen in beneficial locations consistent with our Wasatch Choice vision. The cities decide how to meet the bill's requirements and they maintain control over their land use. Wasatch Front Regional Council is given the responsibility by HB 462 to provide technical assistance to the cities and to certify that the station area plans satisfy the statutory requirements. Today, we will consider Salt Lake City's Ballpark Area Station as the second station area plan for certification. That's exciting. You'll remember we certified Farmington, and now Salt Lake City's brought their first one before us. First, we're going to turn to that specific station area plan. We want to take a step back to consider the tremendous progress being made in communities across our region to promote and enable growth to occur in city and town centers. We've got a little video, a 3-minute video that we've made. I'm going to ask staff if you would play that for us.
Centers in the Wasatch Choice Vision, our shared vision for the future. Creating great centers. Cities and towns across the Wasatch Front are designing and building areas called centers. Centers are special gathering places in our communities where people work, shop, live, and play in a walkable setting. Communities have identified centers in the Wasatch Choice Vision, our shared vision for the future. Creating great centers of communities is a core strategy of the vision. Having a center in your city near transit, trails, or major roadways gives residents more choices about what to visit, how to get around, and what to live in. And since these residents tend to drive less, use less water, and require fewer miles of new infrastructure, it saves money for the entire state, benefiting those people who work and live outside of the centers as well. Let's take a tour of a few current and planned centers around the region. We'll start by flying up to Weber County and visiting downtown Ogden, which is an anchor to the economy and the commercial, academic, dining, and entertainment hub for northern Utah. Ogden continues to invest in its downtown as a special, unique place, and it bustles with activity year-round. Ogden reworked their downtown zoning ordinances to produce the right development for the community. The economic health of the region is dependent upon the success of this center. Next, we travel south into Davis County to spotlight the work planned around Clearfield's Frontrunner Station. This is a community center taking shape with transportation choices in mind. By developing new homes and jobs within an easy walk of the Frontrunner Station, the residents will be able to access opportunities around the region without driving. Workers will be able to get to Clearfield without getting on I-15. This is good for traffic and for air quality. And Clearfield is planning for great community spaces in the heart of this new development. Now let's travel south into Salt Lake County to Mill Creek, an established city that through infill and redevelopment is bringing a unique mixed-use center to life in the heart of the community. Right in the center of this development is the Mill Creek Commons, which is the first element the city created to give its residents a gathering place, and it's already thriving with activity. Finally, we travel into Utah County to downtown Vineyard. Vineyard is another planned city center with visionary design, taking shape next to the Frontrunner Station. Right now, most of the homes in Vineyard are single-family detached with a yard. But this center will accommodate a mix of housing choices for people at different stages of life, like an older couple who don't want the hassle of having to mow their lawn and shovel snow, but still want to be near their grandkids. A younger adult or couple who are just getting started and don't need much space, but want access to good restaurants, entertainment, and transportation. As one of the fastest growing communities in the state, Vineyard is looking ahead at the varying needs of their residents. This is an exciting time with so many examples of communities doing great things in planning centers across our region and state. Implementing the centered growth strategy of the Wasatch Choice Vision will enhance our collective quality of life. And if we create more opportunities to absorb growth in centers, it will actually preserve the character of existing rural communities and suburban neighborhoods. Learn more at wasatchchoice.com.
Thank you. Can someone give me a thumbs up if this still works? I got kicked out of the meeting.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mayor.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, I re-logged in. I'm glad to be back with you again. We're going to now turn it to Megan Townsend, our Director of Community and Economic Development, to discuss this specific station area plan. Meg.
Thank you, Mayor. So today, this brief presentation will prepare this council to make a decision about certifying the ballpark station area plan for the Salt Lake City Ballpark Track Station. I'm going to do a quick overview of station area planning requirements. As Mayor Ramsey said, it's required according to HB 462, 2022 bill requiring cities to do station area planning around their fixed rail stations and BRT. A reminder of the station area plan goals. There's a black bar happening across the screen. Anyway, probably doesn't matter too much. A reminder of the station area plan goals. These are to increase the availability and affordability of housing, to promote sustainable environmental conditions, to enhance access to opportunities, and to increase transportation choices and connections. In order to accomplish those objectives, station area plans have, there are 5 key requirements of station area plans. Those are the station area vision, so the big idea for the station area map. This would cover a half-mile radius around a fixed rail station and a quarter-mile around BRT. There's the statement of how the 4 objectives are met, the engagement of key stakeholders, that includes UDOT, UTA, WFRC, along with property owners, business owners, the general public, and an implementation plan. So that implementation plan needs to identify the path forward for that station area. There is a progress summary. You've seen it before. That's been updated. It's on our website. We'll keep that up to date all of the time. That shows you where each of the 88 stations are along a certain, or along the process. So it might be that they haven't started, might be that they have a plan in place that needs updating according to the legislation, or they may have submitted their plan for certification to us. And that's what we're going to do today with Ballpark. Can we get these slides to advance? Thanks, Mayor. We're having a problem. I would like to show you a couple of gorgeous images from the Ballpark station area plan, but I'll start by saying this plan started well before HB 462 was around. But thanks to just some really great professionals at Salt Lake City, our consultant team, and a valiant effort to engage a really diverse neighborhood, this plan still meets all of the requirements of HB 462. It was adopted in October and has been submitted for our consideration. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Meg, you can, if you're willing, keep talking about it.
Okay, kind of run out of most things except for what to show you, but that's okay. In your packets, you have all of the things that you need to consider this for certification. That includes the Ballpark station area plan. That includes the submission that Salt Lake City did to WFRC staff to review. That includes a resolution that the council would sign if the plan were to be certified. And it includes a checklist. So our staff reviewed this plan. As we have agreed to do in the policy adopted in May, staff will review these station area plans and then make a recommendation to the Regional Growth Committee to certify the plan if it does in fact meet all of the requirements. That happened last week. Staff made a positive recommendation to the Regional Growth Committee to certify the Ballpark station area plan, and Regional Growth Committee has recommended that council consider this plan for certification. So that's what we'll do today. I do encourage you to take a look at the plan. There's some really gorgeous imagery, a land use plan with all of these great opportunity sites, and Mayor Mendenhall mentioned a new opportunity for the Ballpark neighborhood as well. Nick Norris is here to answer any questions that you have that are specific to the plan. I guess I'll turn it to the chair and to Mayor Ramsey for discussion and potentially a motion.
Thank you. I am prepared to make a motion, but first I would like to turn, apologies that I couldn't hear who you said was there from Salt Lake City to answer any questions.
Nick Norris, planning director.
I'd love to turn it over and just see if you have any of the input that would like to be made. I appreciate what Mayor Mendenhall shared earlier when she was able to be with us, and apologize that this ended up late enough that she wasn't able to be here for this. But if somebody representing Salt Lake City, excuse me, would like to speak, we'd love to get your thoughts on this, and then I'm prepared to make a motion.
Councilmember Dugan, you want to say anything or?
Dan Dugan from Salt Lake City. Thank you very much, Mayor. And as the mayor said earlier, this is an awesome plan, and it will still move forward even with the ballpark going a different route. Ballpark next is the next vision for that 13 acres, but the whole plan and the vision for the ballpark area will move forward, and we're all excited about the new development in the area. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you. With that, a great deal of work has gone into this, and I appreciate that Meg pointed out that Salt Lake City's been working on this since long before HB 462, that they've been working hard on this plan, and that it has met all of the requirements, and Regional Growth Committee favorably encourages this. And so I move that we certify the Salt Lake City Ballpark Station Area Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to certify the Salt Lake City Ballpark Area Plan, Station Area Plan. Further discussion to that motion? Just nice work. It's nice to see this is the second one of these approved, and it's it's nice to see. And wearing my other League of Cities and Towns hat, the more that we can make progress on these station area plans, the better said will be in with the Property Rights Coalition and the legislature. So thanks for your work. So all in favor of the motion to approve the plan?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That carries. Thank you very much. Okay. And
Thank you. That completes that.
And I just do want to indicate that what Mayor Ramsey mentioned, she's moving her daughter. The reason she's moving her daughter is that her daughter Haley has been one of the fortunate teenagers in our country, actually, to be appointed as a congressional page. And so she's gonna be working in Washington, D.C. and helping our senators. And congratulations to you, Mayor, and give our best to Haley.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry to not be with you, but the mom hat trumps everything. And this is one of those times. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. So now let's return to item 4 on our agenda, the Transportation Coordinating Committee report. Mayor Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Coordinating Committee met in November. There were some modifications to the board at that time. Those were in your packet. If there's any questions regarding those modifications, let Ben know. We have some additional modifications that we need to look at today as the committee. So or the council. So I'm going to turn the time over to Ben Withers to walk us through those.
Thank you, Mayor. So with the Transportation Improvement Program, as a reminder, what the Transportation Improvement Program does is it actually implements the long-range plans for our highway transit and active transportation project. So the earlier discussion before any of that will ever happen has to go through the TIP and the STIP as well. It'll also help us meet the short-range transportation needs along the Wasatch Front and provide for the maintenance of our existing system. As Mayor Shepherd referenced, we have 2 items for the TIP. There was the actions that were taken by Transcom back in their meetings in November, the regular meeting on the 3rd, and emergency meeting on the 21st that amended the TIP. And then we have a board modification before the Regional Council today. So in your materials, you'll have a copy of the resolution, and attached to that resolution, you'll have 3 tables. Those 3 tables will have, there's 7 projects that we'll talk about, 8 projects, excuse me. So this first table will identify or references 4 of those. We'll move in a very quick fashion here as we go through each of these projects in the board modification. The first board modification is on I-15. This is up in Davis County. This is actually on the Shepherd Lane interchange, as well as the pedestrian overpass on Clark Lane. Back in 2017, when this project or the interchange project was approved, it was approved and programmed in the TIP And then in the year 2021, the pedestrian facilities on Park Lane were added to the project and additional funds were brought to the project. This is the series of structures that'll bring the ped bike and trail facilities on the east side of 89, across 89 and across I-15 to the west side to the bike and ped and trail facilities on that side. With inflation and the escalating material costs of construction, anyway, it's necessary, or it's necessary to add an additional $15 million to this project, bringing the total project cost to $129.4+ million. The next project that we have is also on I-15. This is a project up in Weber County. This is an I-15 up in the Riverdale area. This project originally was to remove and replace obsolete barriers as well as crash cushions. As they were out on site identifying and doing the preparatory work for the engineering, and that it was identified that the barrier, that the shoulders needed work, and there was also a need to wrap the structures or the columns on the structures of that facility. So we got a couple of pictures here along I-15 up in this area, looking at the barriers. So with the additional work of improvements to the shoulders, as well as improvements are wrapping the columns there, it's necessary to add some additional funds. These funds come from the Region 1 Transportation Solution Program. The request is to add $450,000 to this project, giving us a total project of $1.3 million. The next project is also in Davis County. This is a project on 2000 West. This is a project that was programmed back in 2017 that will widen the facility between 300 North and 1800 North. This will take a narrow facility and widen it to a 5-lane facility with the shoulders. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see what the existing facility, well, I guess, there we go. You can see what the existing facility is south of the improvements. And in the other 3 slides, identify what the existing condition of the facility. Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. On this particular project here, with the escalating material cost, the inflation with right-of-way and labor, it's necessary to add additional funds to this project of $11 million, bringing us a total project cost of $71 million. The last project on that first spreadsheet there is a project in Weber County. This is on I-84. This is a project between I-15 and SR-26 or Riverdale Road. This project initially was to add a bonded wearing course on the ramps. This would improve skid resistance as well as provide pavement maintenance or preserve the pavement. But as they were out doing an inspection, it was identified that the HMA or the hot mix asphalt was necessary to rotomill and replace down 2 inches. So with the additional work and with the cost of the hot mix asphalt, there's a request to add an additional $700,000 to this project, making the total project cost of $1.45 million. That brings us to the second sheet. The second sheet has 3 projects that we'll review quickly. The first one in Salt Lake City. This is a project on Redwood Road. This particular project goes from 6200 South to I-215. This project will add a northbound lane on Redwood Road from 62 to I-215. It'll also have dual lanes on the on-ramps for westbound and eastbound. It'll also create a northbound continuous flow intersection at 6200 South. That would look just like this. So what that does, or how that aligns to traffic. So if your traffic moving northward on Redwood Road, The continuous flow intersection there allows that left turning lane to be displaced and to make a move up to where when the signal changes, it allows all the movements to take place at the same time. The engineer's estimate, well, the bids just opened on this project. The engineer's estimate was about 20% low of or shy of the lowest bid. And it's requested that we add an additional 1.6+ million to this project, making a total project cost of 16.9+ million. The next project's referred to the Transportation Alternative Program for UDOT. These are small scale transportation projects that'll involve pedestrian, bicycle. It'll also provide recreational as well as school or safe routes to school. Region 1 went through an application process. Each of the regions have alternative transportation funds to program with the local governments. Region 1 went through their application process. There were 4 projects identified in the Wasatch Front area. And it is their intent to request that these 4 projects be added to the TIP. First project is a project in Clinton City. Clinton City has identified those areas where they would like to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety with crosswalks as well as, I forgot the name anyway, rectangular rapid flashing beacons. How's that? That's what they look like. Actually, that's what they look like right there. But the idea in that map that was prior there is to identify the intersections where the crosswalks would be implemented as well as the RRF, those flashing beacons would be implemented. Total project cost on this project is $260,000. The TAP funds being recommended are $130,000. And then there's a local match of $130,000. The next project here is in West Point. This is a project out on 4500 West. It's to add missing sidewalk on 4500 West. This is also a safe routes to school facility here.
Mayor, Commissioner, will you use your mic when you make good jokes, please?
So this particular project estimated cost is $320,000. The TAP funding being recommended by the region is $230,000 and the local funding match is $90,000. That brings us to the last spreadsheet that identifies the last 2 projects in this board modification. Both of these are TAP projects. This first one in Syracuse City. This is an interesting project. Syracuse City has requested funding to do an alternative transportation environmental study along Antelope Drive. There's part where the south or where a path would be identified or constructed on the south side, and then part where it would transfer over at Doral Drive there to the north side. This project is estimated to cost $120,000, with the TAP funding being brought to the table of $100,000 with the local funding match of $20,000. The last project we'll review is a project up in Harrisville. This is for a student drop-off here at Majesty Elementary, or Majestic Elementary here. On the south side of this campus, they front 2425 North. The idea here is to construct a drop-off, student drop-off, as well as construct sidewalk for bike ped use. This project is estimated to cost $120,000. The TAP funding program would be $95,000 with the local match of $25,000. That's all of the projects in this board modification.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben? Seeing none, I would move that we approve the modifications to the TIP.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Shepherd, seconded by Mayor Caldwell to approve these modifications. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Shepherd. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our report, and I've got to be excused at this point.
Okay, the best part of the agenda is yet to come. So that's the budget report by Mayor Caldwell. Mayor, you have the floor.
So at the risk of this turning into a long city council meeting where we all have friends and family we want to go see, looking at you, Marcia. I'm going to turn it over to Mary and Florence. We did go through some updates and everything else. So we appreciate you being here and I'm going to give the time to you. Thank you.
Sure, I will be brief, mercifully brief. We, as a council, you as a council do review these policies regularly, which of course is fiscally prudent and a good idea. So in August 2020, that was the last time, that was an exciting sound, that we did a review.
That was just my stomach. That's
Oh,
okay.
I will definitely be brief. So we did a review of our policies to look for basically making sure that we are reflecting current best practices, any updated state or federal fiscal guidance, and of course, post-pandemic processes. So our policies you may be familiar with already. Our current policies outline a lot of the processes that were in place before the pandemic, and now post-pandemic, we have many changes, of course, that were necessitated by that, but also just the sort of march of time. So there were a few places where we received some guidance from the Utah State Auditor's Office, the Federal Highway Administration, and our external auditor. For instance, some recent legislation amended the state procurement code, really just made it more clear. There's nothing that we have changed in our process there. We've just clarified our policy so that it is in line with that guidance. Even more, I think, sort of relevant, or not more relevant, but more impactful maybe, is the financial processes change that we had post-pandemic, including the addition of an accounting specialist. So we now have 2 people in our finance department, which is fantastic. And it, of course, just adds to our internal control. So we wanted to make sure that that was reflected in our policy. WFRC has also upgraded its accounting software. I was pleased when I looked at some reports online to see that Morgan City's reports looked exactly like mine. It's the same software. And I thought, oh, there's a kindred spirit up there. So it's a software company that really, it works a lot with Utah municipalities and local governments. Payroll is now processed in-house. That needed to be reflected in our policy. And we make all of our payments by ACH, not by physical check. So things like that are updated in the policy. We talked about it at our budget committee meeting. So I can turn it back to you, or we can just say that we have reviewed them and recommend them for an update.
Marian, thank you for that. If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve the updates to WFRC's accounting and administrative policy.
This is Dawn. It's hard for me to tell if anyone's made a motion, but if not, I'm happy to make that motion.
I'm sorry, Mayor Ramsey. We had a motion that was, now I can't remember who made the motion. Mayor Caldwell, and seconded by Commissioner Stevenson to approve the updated accounting administrative policy. I asked if there was any further discussion. I didn't see any, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That matter is approved. And I'm not sure that Commissioner Farrar is still with us.
Mr. Chair, he is not. I can do items 7A and 7B together in less than 1 minute, if you would allow me.
I'm
economic
start the timer.
The economic,
cut him off. Cut him off.
The Wasatch Front Economic Development District has been meeting over several months, working with the governor's office and other associations of government around the state to develop the 2030 Coordinated Economic Action Plan. Also, the WFEDD is going to be working on the 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy for our region over the next few months. Marcia White is leading that work. That is the short version of the EDD report. And Mr. Chair, as far as my executive director's report, all I will say is thank you. This has been the longest meeting in WFRC history, at least since I've been here, and perhaps the most contentious one. And I just appreciate everybody's patience and engagement in these important issues. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And I think Mayor Caldwell, I'm going to call upon you to make your favorite motion.
Oh,
wait. Move to adjourn.
There's item 8, which was a overview of the open meeting.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
can defer that until March.
So for those of you those of you who have not been here long enough and want to, and have not had the open meetings training at at your own jurisdiction or otherwise, feel free to stay. Andrew will stay here until 7 PM to lock the door behind you. So anyway, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor? We're out of here. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.